Naruto. Start signing in with the Tremor-Tremor Fruit. Chapter 76. The battle was fierce, and the enemy was in chaos. Jiraiya and Orochimaru went to war head-on. The summoned beasts under his feet were also firing at full power. Gamabunta under Jiraiya's feet took out the toad short knife and slashed forward. The huge body jumped up and stabbed the short knife in his hand. Toad, are you worthy of fighting with me? The snake twisted in the air and its tail swiped out like lightning. Dang! Snake tail against short knife. A sound of metal and iron rang out, and Gamabunta's charging figure paused and retreated several steps. And the snake also slid a distance on the ground. You, Toad, are you angry? I haven't seen you for a few years, but your swordsmanship is still as bad as before. As summoned beasts of the same level, Gamabunta and Manchi are equally matched. Now they are fighting, and they are talking trash for the first time in a long time. Gamabunta smacked the pipe in his mouth, and a puff of smoke blew on Manchi's face. The former picked up the toad short sword again and started to attack. Manchi twisted his snake body. What swordsmanship is a guy without hands talking about? Okay. I'll tear your toad skin into pieces. Manchi's huge snake tail swept over when it was poked in the sore spot, and Gamabunta raised his hand to block it. It just so happens that I also need a snake skin wallet. While the two summoned beasts were fighting, Jiraiya and Orochimaru were not idle either. You always show up at the most annoying time. The bandage on Orochimaru's hand loosened, and a lot of blood appeared on the dark arm. Kabuto, use my blood to summon the summoned beast again. Orochimaru gave an order, and Kabuto Yakushi took blood from Orochimaru's scrapped arm and then made a seal to summon the spirit. Suddenly, two snakes smaller than the 10,000 snakes rushed out of the white smoke. The target was not Jiraiya, but the people behind him. Earth-style. Yellow Spring Swamp. Jiraiya made a seal quickly, and the two rushing snakes stagnated instantly under the change of the seal method. The huge swamp that appeared out of thin air swallowed the snake body. I don't have enough chakra. This move can only trap it, you kill it. Jiraiya shouted, and dense beads of sweat dripped from his cheeks. Tsunade's medicine is really powerful. Jiraiya's body is still weak now. Gritting his teeth to use the summoning technique of Yellow Spring Swamp is already very reluctant. Jiraiya, you should worry about yourself. Orochimaru laughed grimly, and suddenly a sword spewed out of his mouth. Orochimaru, who couldn't use his hands, bit the hilt of the sword and stretched his neck to attack Jiraiya. Ninjutsu. Needle Jizo. Jiraiya's long hair suddenly hardened and completely wrapped his body. Orochimaru stabbed the hardened white hair with the sword in his mouth. In an instant, Orochimaru abandoned the sword, stretched his neck and rushed in through the gap of Needle Jizo. The snake head flashed in Jiraiya's sight, and then bit Jiraiya's neck. Jiraiya, how about I make a deal with you? Orochimaru whispered in Jiraiya's ear, my hands are sealed by the Shikigami Fujin and I can't exert my strength, and the drug effect in your body has not been removed, so you can't fight. How about this, you hand over Qingqiu and Tianming to me. I will also let Tsunade go. You are dreaming. Jiraiya looked like he was not willing to negotiate. That boy is my disciple, how can I give my disciple away? Jiraiya, you should understand that you have no right to refuse. Orochimaru said coldly. Are you saying that if you bite me, there will be a curse seal? No. Orochimaru said. You have practiced in Myoboku Mountain, and the power of the curse seal has no effect on you. I mean, people outside can't stop Kabuto Yakushi. While Jiraiya and Orochimaru were wrestling, Kabuto Yakushi also jumped down from the 10,000 snakes and came to the side of the snake trapped in the Yellow Spring Swamp. On Tsunade's side, Uzumaki Naruto looked at Kabuto Yakushi with a face full of shock. The Yakushi Kabuto who helped Team 7 so much in the Chunin exam is actually the villain. Naruto, is it okay to leave those two snakes to you? Qingqiu and Tianming said lightly. Tianming. Don't worry, I have a battle plan. Qingqiu and Tianming said not to worry. Little brat. Let go. Tsunade stood up with the help of Shizune and said, I don't need you to stand in front of me. Qingqiu and Tianming smiled dumbly and said, Tsunade-sama, the strength of the Hokage is not a single combat power, and the name of the Hokage is not something that can be carried by one person. You are the Hokage of Konoha, and how can we put the Hokage in crisis? Qingqiu and Tianming's words hit Tsunade's heart like a sledgehammer. It turned out that she escaped this. In all these years, no child has seen it so clearly. Just as Qingquan Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto exchanged glances and were about to fight, the two felt a grabbing force coming from their bodies. Then they were lifted up by Tsunade one by one. You are right, I am the Hokage of Konoha. How can the Hokage of Konoha let the genin charge into battle? You just watch. As soon as the voice fell, Tsunade turned into a residual image and instantly approached Kabuto Yakushi, and then punched out, as if the air was shattered. This speed. Kabuto Yakushi reacted mentally, but his body could not react. Boom. Kabuto Yakushi was directly beaten and fell to the ground, and at this time, Tsunade's face slowly showed obscure lines. The old man was beaten to death. Kabuto Yakushi was knocked away by a punch, and slid on the ground for a distance, smashing a huge rock into pieces. It can be seen how powerful this punch is. Instantly, Kabuto Yakushi looked over, and at this time, intricate lines appeared on Tsunade's face, and she soared into the sky with amazing momentum. Tisk, tisk, tisk. The snake trapped in the yellow spring swamp turned its head and was about to bite Tsunade. The latter did not dodge or avoid, but raised her leg high on the spot and blew up the snake's huge head with a painful kick. Is he so strong? Uzumaki Naruto was stunned behind him. Tsunade-sama used a technique that would cost her life. Shizune said with a complicated expression. Lose life. Uzumaki Naruto looked confused. Tsunade-sama is the granddaughter of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, so she has the strange power of the Senju clan, and this move is a real forbidden technique. The 100 Healings technique. When activated, the curse seals are all over the body, and the moment of being injured, it will continue to regenerate rapidly and automatically at a high speed without affecting the attack rhythm. The disadvantage is that the treatment is fully automatic and uncontrollable, and the chakra consumed is much higher than that of ordinary medical ninjutsu. Even small injuries will regenerate, and these small injuries can be treated with ordinary medical ninjutsu or temporarily without treatment. And using ninjutsu to create regeneration is the same, and it will reduce life after use. Listening to Shizune's explanation, Uzumaki Naruto only felt that the door to a new world had been opened, but with his IQ, he could hear the loss of life from those family secrets. How can you fight without risking your life? I'll help. Uzumaki Naruto said as he was about to use the shadow clone technique. Naruto. Qingquan Tianming stopped him and said, we can't intervene in this battle, because Tsunade-sama is already the Hokage, and this battle is a battle that she is betting everything on. We just need to watch. Blast the summoning snake with one punch. Kabuto Yakushi slowly got up from the ground, took out the medicine jar again, poured out a pill and swallowed it into his mouth. The pill entered his mouth, and the chakra in his body was refilled again. Chakra scalpel. Kabuto Yakushi actually chose to meet it directly, and the chakra scalpel in his palm hit Tsunade's arm at an astonishing speed. Tsunade's expression did not change. She freed one hand and punched Kabuto Yakushi in the face. Kabuto Yakushi was hit directly on the ground by the punch from the front, and the ground surface quickly cracked. Wow! Kabuto Yakushi coughed up blood. He could never be the opponent of Tsunade's 100 healings. The battle here naturally shocked the two people on the top of the summoning beast. Tsunade actually used that technique. Orochimaru was stunned for a while. The 100 healings technique is life-consuming. At the same time, this move was also very familiar to Orochimaru. He studied the cells of Hashirama Senju in part because he wanted to obtain the 100 healings technique, but he failed countless times in succession and finally only developed a defective product, that is, the power of the curse seal. Tsunade. Jiraiya was also absent-minded. Boom. At this time, the 10,000 snakes below bit Gamabunta's knife with their big mouths, and its snake tail instantly sneaked up on Gamabunta and knocked him away, and the huge toed short knife also fell to the ground. The two separated, and Jiraiya and Orochimaru had no intention of fighting anymore. Tisk tisk tisk. Just when Tsunade was about to end Kabuto Yakushi. The second snake trapped in the Yellow Spring Swamp launched a death attack, and the snake head came through the wind like a cannonball. Tsunade stomped her feet lightly. The earth wall that rose from the ground directly blocked the snake head missile. And at this time, the 10,000 snake's tongue rolled up Kabuto Yakushi and immediately escaped into the ground. Tsunade's eyes wandered, not caring. After removing the 100 healings technique, Tsunade fell directly to the ground, and the whole person looked a few years older. Tsunade. Jiraiya jumped down from the top of Gamabunta's head. He came to Tsunade and picked her up. Asshole, if you dare to touch the 5th generation Hokage, you're dead. Tsunade fell asleep after saying this. Tsunade-sama. Shizune also trotted over. Let's go back to Konoha first. Jiraiya said lightly. Although several people were injured to varying degrees, and the process was rather tortuous. But the result was still good. In this way, the task of finding Tsunade was completed. When returning to Konoha, Uzumaki Naruto was always unhappy about why Tsunade took over as the 5th generation, and was severely punished by Jiraiya. After returning to Konoha, Tsunade was sent to the Konoha hospital, while Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto went back to their own homes. Tianming. On the way home, Uzumaki Naruto said. Just when we parted, Sister Shizune gave me a necklace, saying it was given to you by old Aunt Tsunade. Aoki Tenming looked at the necklace of the Senju family on Uzumaki Naruto's neck and said lightly, this thing is incredible, it is a token of the Hokage, and you will become the Hokage in the future. Wakaka, Tianming, do you think I will become the Hokage? You have a good eye. Uzumaki Naruto is a person who is easily satisfied, such as eating ramen, such as he is the Hokage. Back to the Qingchuan family mansion, Qingchuan Tenming saw Karen standing at the door before entering the door. Why are you outside? Because I am waiting for you. When you go out to perform a mission, I will wait for you at this time every day. Karen said in the tone of an old couple. The old man was very happy. Why are you waiting for me every day? Qingchuan Tianming said in a subtle way. Uzumaki Karen smiled and said, I have never lived like this before, so I cherish the present. The meal is ready, come and eat. Oh. Qingchuan Tianming was a little surprised. He didn't even plan to eat when he came back suddenly. When he walked into the inner hall, Uzumaki Karen had already served the meal. After several days of hard study, Uzumaki Karen's craftsmanship has reached a higher level. Qingchuan Tianming ate happily, but Uzumaki Karen looked at him straight. I'll run you a bath. Thank you. Qingchuan Tianming said with food in his mouth. After eating and living with Uzumaki Karen for a while, the initial feeling of disgust was gone. Qingchuan Tianming felt that someone was waiting for him at home, and he was still very subtle. Men in Konoha pay attention to eating quickly, and Qingchuan Tianming is no exception. Uzumaki Karen had just put the hot water, and Qingchuan Tianming had finished eating. Putting down the bowl and chopsticks, Qingchuan Tianming found a change of short shirt and walked into the bathroom. Taking off the dirty clothes on his body, Qingchuan Tianming's muscular upper body was undoubtedly exposed. Although he was only 12 years old, he had been practicing physical skills since he was a child, and he had never slackened his hard practice, which created a strong body of muscles. Qingchuan lay down in the bathtub, and the warm water washed away the fatigue of the past few days. Outside the bathroom, a figure appeared in front of the dirty clothes basket. Uzumaki Karen, who had finished cleaning the dishes, stopped when she passed by here. The dirty clothes of Qingchuan Tianming in the dirty clothes basket were very attractive to her. No. Tianming will think I'm weird. Uzumaki Karen seemed to have changed into a different person. This was her unique hobby. As long as she depended on someone, she would accept all the things of that person. And for Uzumaki Karen now, Qingchuan Tianming's dirty clothes were very attractive to her. These were Tianming's clothes. I wanted to touch them and own them. Thinking of this, Uzumaki Karen's face became hot. After struggling for a long time in her heart, Uzumaki Karen successfully suppressed her desire. After she left, Qingchuan Tianming in the bathroom gasped for air. Uzumaki Karen was sensitive, and he was not bad either. When he sensed that Karen wanted to do something with his dirty clothes, his heart was hanging. I didn't expect it to be so fast. In the original Naruto, Uzumaki Karen is not only a mobile blood bag, but also an extremely yandere guy. Qingchuan Tianming originally thought that young Karen would not be like this, but he still miscalculated. Qingchuan Tianming felt a little ashamed and a little scared about this result. It felt like walking on the edge of a knife. Soon, Qingchuan Tianming walked out of the bathroom and found Uzumaki Karen sitting outside the door with a futon next to her. What are you looking at? Qingchuan Tianming came to sit beside her. Look at the moon in the sky. Uzumaki Karen smiled and said, there are so many stars in the sky, but there is only one moon, so I feel very lonely. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Your mission this time is very dangerous, right? Not bad. Qingchuan Tianming replied. I can feel that your body is more tired than ever before. Uzumaki Karen rolled up her sleeves and said, if you get hurt in the future, you can bite me. My blood is the best treatment. This sentence coming out of Karen's mouth is a bit special. Qingchuan Tianming certainly knows it, but knowing is one thing, and Uzumaki Karen taking the initiative to say it is another. Well, if you think there are too many teeth marks on my arm, there are also other places. Ahem. Qingchuan Tianming came back to his senses in an instant and laughed dryly twice, saying, I don't mean to dislike you, but I don't treat you as a medical product, understand? Karen, how about I teach you ninjutsu? I have to say that Qingchuan Tianming's way of changing the subject is so bad, just forcibly changing it. I'm willing to learn. Uzumaki Karen said with great enthusiasm. I can learn any ninjutsu, no matter how difficult it is. I can wash your clothes and cook for you, or accompany you on missions. Because we are family. As if she felt that what she said was ambiguous, Uzumaki Karen forced another explanation. Then let's start with the most basic. Qingchuan Tianming came to the yard, and there was a red bullseye on the left wall. This hardcore target was drawn by Qingchuan Tianming when he was a child to practice shuriken. To be honest, Qingchuan Tianming's shuriken skills are really high. My teaching may be different from others, but it is very easy for you to learn. Qingchuan Tianming said as he took out the kunai and threw it towards the wall. When the kunai was thrown out, 10 shurikens followed. Pa pa pa. A dense sound rang out, the kunai hit the red bullseye and the shurikens spread around the kunai. Awesome. It was the first time that Uzumaki Karen saw shuriken used in this way. What should I do? Uzumaki Karen took out the kunai but did not rush to attack. The key to hidden weapons is the hit rate. First, you should emit chakra, concentrate it at the bullseye, and then inject chakra into the kunai, so that the power and hit rate will be greatly improved. The more you fight, the more you will be defeated. This is a method Qingchuan Tianming came up with on purpose. The Uzumaki clan has a huge reserve of chakra, and in addition to medical ninjutsu, they also have to learn how to use chakra flexibly. Karen is not a combat ninja, so if she wants to see results in a short time, she can only find another way. I'll try. Uzumaki Karen is also very smart and understood it immediately. She closed her beautiful eyes and opened them again, and the thick chakra enveloped the entire yard. Finally, Karen gathered the chakra to the center of the target, and at the same time, another stream of chakra was poured into the kunai. Swish! The kunai flew out of the wind and pierced a big hole in the wall. After a closer look, it was still a little short of the bullseye. I didn't hit it. Let me do it again. Karen, stop first. Karen could do it many times, but the wall of Qingchuan's house would not allow it. I'm just setting an example for you. We will go to the suburbs to practice tomorrow. Qingchuan Tianming murmured, in addition to shuriken and kunai, I will teach you something else. Understood. Uzumaki Karen looked eager to try. No words were spoken that night. Early the next morning, the two left Qingchuan's house and came to the suburbs of Konoha. In addition to the special training of Team 7, Qingchuan Tianming also found a secret base to open a small class. Now Hatake Kakashi and Uchiha Sasuke are both lying in the hospital, so the training of Team 7 has been put on hold. Jiraiya is helping Tsunade to secure the position of Hokage. So the time is free now. Arriving at a clearing in the forest, Qingchuan Tianming stopped and said, Karen, my teaching method may be a little cruel. Don't be gentle to me, I like brutality. Uzumaki Karen opened her mouth and spoke harshly. Qingchuan Tianming smiled faintly, and then went to prepare. Although he had already mastered the release of shuriken, he still practiced occasionally. Unlike other people's fixed targets, Qingchuan Tianming played with moving targets. I'll show you a demonstration. Qingchuan Tianming said, and his hands quickly began to seal. A burst of white smoke rose, and 100 clones suddenly appeared on the clearing. The last time the 100 shadow clones appeared was when they were compared with Hatake Kakashi, but now they have all turned into moving targets. Qingqiu and Tianming's mind moved, and the 100 shadow clones immediately began to move from all directions. And Qingqiu and Tianming's body also took a step and flew into the air, and rubbed the shuriken in his hand casually. From 1 shot to 10 shots. Shuriken Great Loop. The 10 shurikens in Qingqiu and Tianming's hand pierced out and chased in different directions. When the shuriken penetrated a clone, Qingqiu and Tianming would change the seals on his body, and the magnetic chakra would pull. The released shurikens became tracking weapons. Finally, all 100 clones were destroyed. Qingqiu and Tianming exhaled and waved his hand, and the 10 shurikens in the woods flew back. At this time, Uzumaki Karen was already stunned. She had never seen anyone play shuriken like this. Shuriken Great Loop is a technique I studied. I don't expect you to know it. What you need to do is to hit every clone with shuriken as much as possible. Do you understand? Qingqiu and Tianming said and put the shuriken in Karen's palm. I understand. Try it. Qingqiu and Tianming summoned 100 shadow clones again, still running around without any rules. And the main body also found a place to start daily sword practice. This practice lasted a whole morning. Qingqiu and Tianming walked out of the woods, only to see Uzumaki Karen staring at the 20 shadow clones in front of her breathlessly. Give me some more time, I can do it. Uzumaki Karen said. You've done very well, take your time. Qingqiu and Tianming stretched out his hand and rubbed Uzumaki Karen's red hair. Being able to kill 80 shadow clones directly for the first time is already an amazing record. The reason why Qingqiu and Tianming was so relaxed was that after all, his chakra was huge, and he was also proficient in magnetic chakra to turn shuriken into tracking shuriken. Even so, Qingqiu and Tianming practiced for a long time. After taking Uzumaki Karen home, she was almost exhausted. Qingqiu and Tianming was also very considerate to let her stop practicing temporarily, and the afternoon time was changed to visiting patients at Konoha Hospital. Tianming. On the way to Konoha Hospital, Qingqiu and Tianming ran into Uzumaki Naruto and Haruno Sakura. Haruno Sakura is still dressed up today. Qingqiu and Tianming, do I look good today? Not bad. Qingqiu and Tianming said casually. Tisk, you don't know how to appreciate it just like Naruto. Haruno Sakura stuck out her tongue, indicating that she didn't want to discuss with a straight man. Qingqiu and Tianming showed an expression of happiness. Arriving at Konoha Hospital, they found Sasuke's ward with ease. The three of them pushed the door and saw a new flower on the bedside table. Ino is one step faster. Haruno Sakura put the flowers she bought into the vase. Then she took the fruit next to her and started peeling. This skilled look, it is estimated that he has been here for several days in a row. Just when Qingqiu and Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto were about to go to see Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Sasuke woke up on the bed. Wait a minute. The two of them were so busy that they had to wait for the next battle. Sasuke, you're awake. Haruno Sakura put down the fruit knife and handed over the peeled apple. Uchiha Sasuke ignored him and stared at Qingqiu and Tianming and said, Qingqiu and Tianming, I want to fight with you. Sasuke, no. Your injury hasn't healed yet, and you're not suitable for fighting. Haruno Sakura persuaded. Yes, Sasuke, we're all waiting for you. After you get better, Team 7 can continue to practice together. Uzumaki Naruto also said. Qingqiu and Tianming. Uchiha Sasuke tried to get up from the bed. Fight with me. Sasuke. Haruno Sakura wanted to say something else. Get out of here. Uchiha Sasuke opened Haruno Sakura's hand with one hand, and the peeled apple fell directly to the ground. Uchiha Sasuke got off the bed and stomped the apple into mud. When he approached, his Sharingan was already open. Sasuke, you're too much. Uzumaki Naruto said in a daze. Everyone is here to see you, why are you crazy? Sakura has been taking care of you all the time, why are you doing this? Shut up, you fool. Uchiha Sasuke changed his usual behavior and became a powder keg, the kind that explodes when anyone ignites it. The fool. Even if I am the fool, I am stronger than you who is a bully at home. Tianming and I went out to perform a mission, and I came to see you before I rested. What are you doing crazy lying on the bed? Uzumaki Naruto was also angry. Performing a mission. Qingqiu and Tianming, I believe it. As for you, Uchiha Sasuke revealed a mocking expression. Asshole. Uzumaki Naruto exploded directly. We're going to fight on the rooftop. Qingchuan Tianming stopped the two angry people. Don't disturb the hospital. Fight me if you want. I'll punish you. Uzumaki Naruto said fiercely. Since you want to be abused, I'll fulfill your wish. Uchiha Sasuke slowly walked out of the ward. Uzumaki Naruto followed closely behind. Sasuke. Haruno Sakura was about to chase him out in despair. Sakura. Qingchuan Tianming called her and said, I want to tell you something. If you really like Sasuke and decide that you must have him for the rest of your life, then don't give up no matter how difficult it is. And Naruto likes you too, tell him clearly as soon as possible. Qingchuan Tianming said in a very calm tone, remember to notify Kakashi teacher, I won't let them mess around. After saying that, Qingchuan Tianming also left the ward. In the original work, Haruno Sakura is a very annoying character. She has no strength and can only talk nonsense. The most fatal thing is that she is a fool. She obviously likes Sasuke, but she doesn't make it clear to Naruto, and she enjoys the feeling of being the center of attention. I hope today's persuasion will work. At the same time, in another ward, Hitaki Kakashi has escaped from danger and regained consciousness. Although there are no flowers on his bedside table, there is the latest issue of Intimate Paradise. There is no need to think about it, it must be sent by Big Kai. Ah Kai, you are a big help. Hitaki Kakashi got the latest Intimate Paradise as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Kakashi, you'd better not read it now. Might Guy reminded. Why? Hitaki Kakashi had already opened the cover. But before Might Guy could explain, the door of the ward was pushed open, and the person who came was his student Haruno Sakura. Teacher Kakashi, Naruto and Sasuke are fighting, go and have a look. Kakashi Hitaki's heart skipped a beat, and Might Guy's mouth was full of joy. What's wrong with these two people? Kakashi Hitaki put away the Intimate Paradise and was about to get out of bed. Kakashi. Might Guy had already stood up and said confidently, I will take care of the students for you, Sakura, take care of your teacher Kakashi. After that, Might Guy disappeared in the ward. Turning his sight, he was on the rooftop of Konoha Hospital. Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke looked at each other. Sasuke originally wanted to compete with Qingchuan Tianming, but Naruto kept talking nonsense, so he had to deal with him first. As for Qingchuan Tianming, responsible for watching the fight. The reason for Sasuke's drastic change in temperament may only be known by Qingchuan Tianming. After encountering Uchiha Itachi's dimensionality reduction attack plus the moon reading package, Sasuke's mentality collapsed. He no longer intends to give himself time to grow up. You are the last one, do you really want to fight me? Uchiha Sasuke taunted. The Sasuke I know is not like this. Since you are not awake, I will wake you up. Uzumaki Naruto said angrily, put on your forehead protector. What if I can't? Uchiha Sasuke had no intention of getting serious with Uzumaki Naruto. After all, his only opponent was Qingchuan Tianming. The forehead protector is the symbol of a ninja. Wear the forehead protector as a Konoha ninja. Uzumaki Naruto said again. Tisk. Uchiha Sasuke impatiently took out the ninja forehead protector from his pocket and threw it directly on the ground. Only the weak pay attention to these useless things. As soon as the voice fell, Uchiha Sasuke rushed towards Uzumaki Naruto and raised his hand to punch him. Half a month of training was not in vain. Uzumaki Naruto reacted and punched him at the same time. The two punched each other, evenly matched. After the two of them caught each other's fists, they started the second wave of attack. Uzumaki Naruto directly hit Uchiha Sasuke with a headbutt attack. This rogue attack stunned Sasuke. Naruto rushed forward with an uppercut and was about to attack again. He was bound to wake Sasuke up. But Uchiha Sasuke was not a pushover. He crossed his hands and replaced them with his chin. At the same time, he turned his body and hit Uzumaki Naruto's chest with several knee strikes. Now both of them have made progress. They are no longer the same as when they were just divided into classes. Uzumaki Naruto retreated repeatedly and then made a seal. Suddenly, more than a dozen shadow clones rushed over from different directions. Uchiha Sasuke touched his trouser bag, and the kunai was spinning in his palm. Facing Naruto's clones, he chose to defeat the enemy head-on. In terms of physical skills, Sasuke is still better now. The dense clone stood on the rooftop and attacked Uchiha Sasuke, and Sasuke also showed his physical skills. He supported himself with one hand and kicked the clones that surrounded him directly. At this time, Uzumaki Naruto slid. The real body entered the field and caught him off guard. He kicked Uchiha Sasuke directly, and at the same time, Uzumaki Naruto also flew up with one hand. This starting move is Naruto's continuous bomb. Uchiha Sasuke took 2 consecutive kicks in the air, and the pupils of his Sharingan shrank slightly. He found that Naruto's real body was actually above his head. He turned around suddenly, and Uzumaki Naruto in the air also kicked down with a stomp. Sasuke bent his elbows. The force of the two rumbled in the air, and when they fell to the ground, Uchiha Sasuke used another fire escape great fireball technique to clear the field. After fighting for several rounds, the two became angry. Especially Uchiha Sasuke. He originally planned to teach Uzumaki Naruto a lesson and then fight Qingchuan Tianming alone. But in the current situation, while he was lying in the hospital, has this last-placed person made such progress? How is it possible? Uchiha Sasuke returned to the ground, and the curse seal on his neck began to take effect. With the bursts of tingling, the chakra also became active. I'll finish you off at once. Uchiha Sasuke made a seal, holding the wrist of his other hand with one hand, and violent lightning gathered from his palm. Uzumaki Naruto in the sky also split into 2 clones and began to prepare for action. Chidori. Rasengan. Qingchuan Tianming, who was watching from the sidelines, saw that the big moves were all out, and when he was about to intervene, someone came to the middle of the 2 waves before him. Young men, there is a limit to the sparring. Might Guy, who appeared on the scene, was not afraid of Chidori and Rasengan. He reached out his big hand and grabbed the wrists of the 2 and twisted them gently. The attack direction of the 2 ninjutsu changed. Boom boom. Coincidentally, the attack that was originally intended to hit the opponent was eaten by the 2 innocent water towers next to him. On Naruto Uzumaki's side, a deep pit appeared on the surface of the water tower, and a small stream of water came out. And Uchiha Sasuke next to him blasted the surface of the water tower into a spiral twist. It took a lot of effort to pull his hand out, and a water column flowed out. HMPH. Uchiha Sasuke snorted coldly with satisfaction. How could Uzumaki Naruto's strength catch up with his own? Young man, I'll talk to him. Might Guy said slowly with his arms folded. I refuse. Uchiha Sasuke turned around and jumped off the rooftop. When he landed on the ground, Uchiha Sasuke only felt a calm gaze examining him. Uchiha Sasuke looked up and was stunned. Qingchuan Tianming stood on the water tower that Uzumaki Naruto hit with the Rasengan and smiled faintly. And Sasuke also saw the follow-up of the Rasengan. A big hole was blown directly behind Uzumaki Naruto's water tower. Half of the water tower is gone. Uchiha Sasuke's heart skipped a beat, and the fire of ignorance rose from his heart. Could it be that he couldn't even beat Uzumaki Naruto? This was unacceptable to Sasuke. Uzumaki Naruto stood on the rooftop and looked at the disappearing background of Uchiha Sasuke with a lonely face. Naruto, this is not your fault. Qingchuan Tianming patted Uzumaki Naruto on the shoulder and said, everyone has his own path, and Sasuke can only choose his own path. Qingchuan Tianming knew that the plot of Sasuke's defection was about to begin. After returning from the mission to find Tsunade, he was frustrated by Uchiha Itachi and was eager to find Qingchuan Tianming to prove himself. But he accidentally got into a fight with Uzumaki Naruto. The result of the battle was beyond his own expectations. Ding! Sign in mission activated. Host, please go to. Sign in at the Valley of the End. With the unpleasant end of Team 7, the size of fate began to change. A new sign-in task is also coming. At the same time, the 4 sound ninjas also appeared in Konoha quietly, and their whereabouts this time were very low-key. Because their purpose is not to create chaos in Konoha. We found Sasuke. In the dark, Kitamura came down from the sky and came to his companions and said slowly, but Kakashi Hatake is still standing next to him, so we can only wait. Kakashi Hatake. Sakin and Ukin were stunned for a moment before saying, is it the powerful Jonin of Konoha? Yes, before we came, Lord Kabuto told us that this operation should be carried out in secret and we must not fight with the Jonin of Konoha. The battle in Tansho Street was very painful for Orochimaru. Not only did his hands that were sealed by the Shikigami seal not receive treatment, but he also lost Qingquan Tianming right under his nose. Now that Qingquan Tianming is training with Jiraiya, it is basically impossible to turn him into a container again. Therefore, he can only retreat to the second choice and focus on the second candidate container Uchiha Sasuke. The Uchiha clan's Sharingan has always been one of Orochimaru's dreams. As early as the Akatsuki, Orochimaru was very interested in Uchiha Itachi's Sharingan. Now, after going around in circles, the target is still back to Sasuke. Compared with Qingquan Tianming, who was in an unknown situation, Uchiha Sasuke was undoubtedly easy to control. He was burdened with the pain of genocide. It was a joke that his usual ninjutsu training allowed him to have the ability to avenge Uchiha Itachi. In order to avenge, Sasuke had to make a choice. The Otoshi Quartet had a higher status than the few people in the Chunin exam. Each of them had Orochimaru's curse seal and was very powerful. They were the backbone of the Snake Cave. After being ordered to sneak into Konoha, they quickly found Uchiha Sasuke's location. At the same time, on a certain big tree, Uchiha Sasuke leaned against the trunk, looking at the sky with lifeless eyes. The previous battle with Uzumaki Naruto was still fresh in his memory. Could it be that he had been surpassed by this last-place player? For the first time, Uchiha Sasuke felt helpless. Not long after, a figure appeared in front of him. The person who came was Hitaki Kakashi, who had just been discharged from the hospital. "You are here," Hitaki Kakashi said as he walked out. "Stop," Uchiha Sasuke said lightly. "Don't get so close to me." Hitaki Kakashi understood and did not move forward, but went straight to the point. Uchiha Itachi was already a squad leader of Konoha Anbu when he was 13 years old. Uchiha Sasuke's eyes became fierce, and his eyes were aggressive. "Why do you mention him in front of me? Can't you mention Uchiha Itachi? Can't you even face his name?" Hitaki Kakashi shrugged and said, "What I want to say is that Uchiha Itachi is not a mountain you can't cross, he is a genius of the same generation. I was also inferior to him when I was young." Hitaki Kakashi didn't mind telling his own embarrassing stories. After all, he is such a person. Although Hitaki Kakashi is also known as a genius, he is still far from the genius of the Uchiha clan. After all, the Sharingan is one of the best bloodline limits. "Are you here to preach?" Uchiha Sasuke's tone was still cold. "Yes and no," Hitaki Kakashi said. "You fought with Naruto. I heard about the process. Frankly speaking, you shouldn't have done that. No matter what, you can't attack your companions." "Companions?" Uchiha Sasuke sneered. "Who is a companion with that kind of slacker? You insist that only Qingquan Tianming deserves the name of companion. So that's what you think?" Hitaki Kakashi nodded and said, "In your eyes, companions are linked to strength. Then according to your understanding, are you worthy of being a companion with Qingquan Tianming? What do you want to say?" Uchiha Sasuke was already on the verge of losing control of his emotions. "I want to say that even though Uchiha Itachi is a traitor, you are far worse than him," Hitaki Kakashi said with a slightly disappointed tone. "Enough." Uchiha Sasuke jumped up and said with a red face, "Don't talk about bonds in front of me, comrade. What do you know? How can you guess my thoughts when you know nothing?" Sasuke roared. "No one understands my pain. If you experience it too, then I will kill everyone around you and you will understand." Uchiha Sasuke roared the second half of the sentence. Unexpectedly, Hitaki Kakashi did not beat him, but smiled and said, "There is no one around me anymore." Now Uchiha Sasuke couldn't listen to anything. Hitaki Kakashi knew that he would lose if he talked too much, so he turned around and left. Sasuke sat down again and began to think about Kakashi's words. As he thought about it, it was night. Just as Uchiha Sasuke was about to leave, a bad breath suddenly appeared. Sasuke looked up suddenly and saw the four sound ninjas under the moonlight. "Who is it?" Uchiha Sasuke threw out 4 shurikens in an instant. "We are here to pick you up." The next moment, 4 figures appeared behind Uchiha Sasuke. This strange power made Uchiha Sasuke was startled. Great fireball technique. Uchiha Sasuke quickly formed a seal and the flames spurted out. The huge Jirobo had no intention of dodging, and went straight through the great fireball technique, grabbing Uchiha Sasuke's neck with his big hand. Bang! Smoke rose, and it turned out to be a piece of wood. Uchiha Sasuke, who used the substitution technique to dodge the attack, appeared behind Jirobo and was about to attack again. Whoosh! Kidomaru's powerful spider silk did hit Uchiha Sasuke's body first and pinned him to the wall. Is this the container that Lord Orochimaru specifically asked for? The Sound 4 came to the trapped Sasuke and looked him up and down. The first person to be selected was the container that Lord Orochimaru specifically requested. When they received this task, the Otoshi Quartet was a little curious. What kind of person could become a container? He could actually replace their old master Kimimaro. The people who were cursed by Orochimaru were both containers and subordinates. These people had a perverted admiration for Orochimaru and regarded being Orochimaru's container as the greatest honor. In the Snake Cave, Kimimaro had always been the first candidate for container, but now he was replaced. The Otoshi Quartet seemed to want to see through Uchiha Sasuke, but they couldn't understand it. Is this guy too weak? Uchiha Sasuke, who was controlled by Kidomaru, was like a volcano erupting in his heart. He had never been so frustrated. He had always been a top-notch existence in the Konoha ninja school. But after being beaten by Uchiha Itachi, Sasuke found that he could not beat anyone. Oh. Want to struggle? Kidomaru, one of the four, hugged his arms and said in surprise. Under the spider web, Uchiha Sasuke's body was hunched, and the curse seal on his neck began to take effect, and the unique curse spread from the neck to the whole body. Swish! Suddenly, Uchiha Sasuke broke out of the web, and his speed was extremely fast. But the four people in front of him were faster than him. It was still Jirobo. He took a step forward, and the power of the curse seal also spread all over his body. Then he stretched out his arm and directly blocked Uchiha Sasuke's punch. The next moment, the cursed Saken and Uken appeared behind Uchiha Sasuke and fixed his limbs. Kidomaru descended from the sky, and his 6 arms clenched into fists to attack like a storm. As for Tayuya, it seemed that she didn't need to take action. Uchiha Sasuke in the cursed seal state still didn't gain the upper hand, and was directly kneeled down by the 3 people's operation. Little devil, you are not the only one who has the cursed seal. If you were not designated by Lord Orochimaru, I would have killed you thousands of times. Kidomaru grabbed Uchiha Sasuke's chin and said condescendingly. Sasuke now is completely desperate. Look at his helpless eyes, he is very similar to us back then. Saken and Uken's 2 heads also sang the same tune. Sasuke, with your strength, let alone revenge, you can't even decide your own life and death. After the physical destruction is over, it's time to attack the mind. This is also the advice of Yakushi Kabuto before leaving. You won't kill me. Uchiha Sasuke looked up at Kidomaru and asked. The latter shook his head and said, this is what Lord Orochimaru meant. Follow us so that you can gain strength. Orochimaru. Uchiha Sasuke was familiar with this name. To be precise, after the death of the 3rd generation, the name of Orochimaru was known to everyone in Konoha. Once Lord Orochimaru joined an organization called Akatsuki, where he met Uchiha Itachi. Kidomaru smiled and said, that's all. I'll give you a day to think about it. See you outside the village tomorrow night. As soon as the voice fell, the breeze blew. The Sound Ninja 4 disappeared from sight. Uchiha Sasuke sat on the ground decadently, and his mind kept recalling the scene of his abuse. It turned out that he was really too naive. He didn't know that there are people outside the mountains. If he practiced in a normal way, he would never be able to seek revenge on Itachi in his life. After Uchiha Itachi appeared in Konoha and the Sound Ninja 4 attacked, Uchiha Sasuke had a new understanding of himself. That is far from enough. If you want revenge, you must abandon everything. Reaching out and stroking the curse seal on his neck, Uchiha Sasuke pondered for a while. The luster in his pupils finally disappeared. No words were spoken all night. The next day, the gathering place of Team 7. Uchiha Sasuke was absent, and the others just thought he was in a bad mood. But only Qingchuan Tianming knew that Sasuke had made a choice. You are not in a good situation today. Hitaki Kakashi looked at the 3 people in front of him and said, is it because of Sasuke? Qingchuan Tianming's mouth twitched. Isn't this nonsense? Sasuke's sudden change made Haruno Sakura unbearable. And yesterday Haruno Sakura listened to her opinion and explained it to Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto's vigorous secret love was declared cold before it even started properly. As a result, 2 of the 3 people in Team 7 were absent-minded. Hitaki Kakashi sighed and said nothing more. Practice freely, that's all for today. After receiving the order to disband, Haruno Sakura. He left the scene without saying a word. Only Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto were left by the stream. Tianming, what do you think? I am inferior to Sasuke, that dead fish face. Uzumaki Naruto looked as if he would never be happy again. There are many beautiful women in the world, why do you have to love only one flower? Qingchuan Tianming patted Uzumaki Naruto on the shoulder. Oh, luckily you comfort me, and I feel better when I see that you are also single. Uzumaki Naruto said. Who knew that God played a joke? Tianming. Tianming. 2 female voices spoke in unison, and Hyuga Hinata and Uzumaki Karen appeared with lunch boxes. Uzumaki Naruto seemed to have been shot in the knee. Is it appropriate for God to treat me like this? The Uchiha clan's residence, the graves of the clan members are behind the residence. There are no cenotaphs on top, only wooden signs. After the genocide, Uchiha Sasuke became the only one in the village. After 3 days of living with the corpses of his family, Uchiha Sasuke put away his tears and smile. The young man buried his parents' bodies, and then buried other clan members. It's just that the corpses of the Uchiha clan are not complete. Now there are 328 behind the residence. Uchiha Sasuke will never forget this number. Sasuke knelt down and kowtowed 3 times in front of his parents' wooden signs, and his eyes looked at the other wooden signs. The other wooden signs did not have names, because Sasuke at that time could not recognize everyone in the clan. The meaning of my remaining life is revenge, I must kill Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Sasuke's eyes became firm. That day, that man turned his entire life upside down. My stupid brother, hate me. And then live ugly. Uchiha Sasuke clenched his hands tightly, his nails pierced his palms, and blood remained. After standing still for a while, Uchiha Sasuke picked up his backpack and left the Uchiha station without hesitation and walked towards the outside of Konoha village. Walking along the deserted and wide road, the sunset stretched his figure infinitely. Soon, it was dark. Street lights were on both sides of the road, but there was no one along the way. Just as Uchiha Sasuke walked out of the station, under the street lights at the entrance of Konoha village. A figure stood under the street light and waited for a long time. Haruno Sakura. Uchiha Sasuke's heart skipped a beat. The route he took was from the Uchiha base to the outside of the village, which ordinary people didn't know. Although his heart was in turmoil, his face was still indifferent. Ignoring Haruno Sakura's complicated expression, Uchiha Sasuke passed by directly. Sasuke. Haruno Sakura said with a slightly crying voice, are you really going? You will become a traitor to Konoha if you go. Compared to Uzumaki Naruto, Sakura Haruno is more cautious. As a girl, she is always very thoughtful. Go back. Uchiha Sasuke said lightly. From now on, we are people on 2 different roads. Sasuke. Haruno Sakura burst into tears. I like you. For you, I am willing to do anything. Can you take me with you? Although the boy's heart is as strong as iron, he still can't take such a powerful confession calmly. Uchiha Sasuke's mouth twitched slightly. It's a trick of falling in love. You should find someone else. Sasuke, don't go. Haruno Sakura cried and was about to hug Uchiha Sasuke. The latter flashed behind Haruno Sakura and knocked her down with a clean knife. I'm sorry. Uchiha Sasuke put Haruno Sakura on a bench by the roadside and left the village without hesitation. Outside Konoha village, the 4 sound ninjas also saw Uchiha Sasuke who was late. It's a smart choice. It's better to follow Lord Orochimaru than to stay in Konoha. The power you will have in the future will be unmatched by others. I defected from the village, let's go. Uchiha Sasuke was not interested in bragging with a few people. Of course. The 4 also smiled and disappeared on the spot. The next morning, Haruno Sakura woke up from the bench and burst into tears. She failed to keep Sasuke, and Sasuke left anyway. The news that Uchiha Sasuke was leaving the village spread like a gust of wind to the Hokage's office in Konoha. Tsunade was on the main seat. She had just taken over the position of Hokage, and some old things had to be dealt with by her. She was already busy, but at this critical moment, something like this happened. Lady Tsunade. According to the news from the Anbu, 4 mysterious ninjas appeared in Konoha village yesterday. After investigation, they were Orochimaru's men who were in charge of controlling the formation when the third Hokage died in battle. Shizune reported on her work. Tsunade frowned, and Haruno Sakura next to her was still crying. This matter is not a big deal or a small deal. Lady Tsunade, Sasuke is just bewitched. He is confused. Haruno Sakura repeatedly explained. Little girl, I'm the Hokage, how can I not see through it? Tsunade turned to look at Shizune and said, go find a few Jonin. Tsunade-sama, you sent all the Jonin of Konoha village to perform S-level missions last night, and even most of the Chunin went. Shizune said awkwardly. Tsunade. She held her forehead. Many high-level officials in Konoha were dissatisfied with her promotion and gave her a warning. Among them, Konoha had a funding gap, so Tsunade could only send people to make money. Go call Qingchuan Tianming, Uzumaki Naruto and Nara Shikamaru of the 10th team. After a while, the 3 were called into the Konoha office. Is there a mission? Hey, why is Sakura here too? Uzumaki Naruto still couldn't see the situation clearly. Qingchuan Tianming and Nara Shikamaru said nothing. The former understood the situation, and the latter didn't like to talk. I called you here for an urgent mission. Tsunade said slowly. Just last night, Uchiha Sasuke defected. The old man was very angry. Sasuke defected. When this news came out of Tsunade's mouth, the smile on Uzumaki Naruto's face froze. Aunt Tsunade, did you say it wrong? Although Sasuke's dead fish face is very arrogant, how could he defect from the village? It must be a mistake. Uzumaki Naruto said repeatedly. Rebel ninja is a heavy topic. And rebel ninja is openly rejected by the 5 major countries. Even if there are frictions and constraints between countries, the policy of the 5 major countries on the issue of rebel ninja is to kill without mercy. Naruto, you can't be rude to Tsunade-sama. Shizune scolded in a low voice. But, it's outrageous. I had a fight with him on the rooftop yesterday morning. He can't defect from the village just because of a fight with me. Uzumaki Naruto still couldn't believe it. Uzumaki Naruto, use your dormant brain. Would Lady Tsunade make fun of such a thing? Nara Shikamaru shook his head and looked at Tsunade and said, so the mission is to catch Sasuke back. During the days when Uzumaki Naruto and Qingchuan Tianming were in Tansho Street, Nara Shikamaru had passed the 2nd exam and became a new Chunin. He was wearing a Chunin vest and spoke with a tough attitude. Tsunade crossed her hands and supported her chin to think for a while. Sasuke was cursed by Orochimaru, so he must have been deceived to find Orochimaru, and Orochimaru's snake cave is at the junction of 3 countries. You must find him at the border of the fire country, otherwise once you leave the border, Uchiha Sasuke will be a traitor to Konoha. Tsunade sighed and said, the mission to bring Sasuke back this time is in the charge of Nara Shikamaru and Qingchuan Tianming, and the participants in the mission will be designated by Shikamaru. Tsunade-sama, do I designate the participants in the mission? Nara Shikamaru said. In this case, I will exclude Uzumaki Naruto first. Why? Why? I want to go too. Uzumaki Naruto has always been furious. Because you are not strong enough and not smart enough. The enemy you are facing this time will lose his life if you are not careful. Nara Shikamaru said straight to the point, and you are a genin. What's wrong with genin? I'm very strong. Uzumaki Naruto defended. At this time, it was Aokawa Tenming who made peace and said, Shikamaru, Naruto has the ability to participate in the mission. After saying this, Nara Shikamaru also looked at Aokawa Tenming. The two did not have much interaction before, but Nara Shikamaru did remember the first Chunin exam. Aokawa Tenming had an S score that was higher than everyone else. Whatever you want, I will make it clear in advance that I will not save him. Nara Shikamaru left the Hokage's office first after saying this. Aokawa Tenming was not idle either and turned to leave. On the way back to Aokawa's house, Aokawa Tenming kept repeating the original anime in his mind. The watershed of Sasuke's defection was the Valley of the End, which coincided with his check-in location. In this case, the Valley of the End must be visited. As soon as she entered the gate, Uzumaki Karen stopped taking care of the flowers and plants. Are you going to carry out the mission? You can even sense this. Aokawa Tenming was stunned. Yes. Uzumaki Karen smiled and said, take me with you. Take you. Qingchuan Tianming didn't understand why Karen wanted to follow. My intuition tells me that this matter is not simple. If you are injured, can't you bite me? Uzumaki Karen patted her chest. Qingchuan Tianming was a little worried. How should he explain that he did not have the power to designate people? Tianming, before I met you, I also lived a displaced life. You don't have to protect me so much. Uzumaki Karen turned the offensive. Besides, I am also bored at home alone. When I am bored, I can't help myself. Qingchuan Tianming's chrysanthemum tightened. Sister, you can talk if you want to. Why are you speaking in an ambiguous tone? And what's the matter with this strange punctuation? Stop talking. Let's go together. The preparation time passed in a flash, and when we arrived at the entrance of Konoha village, Nara Shikamaru's team was also assembled. There is a slight difference from the original work. Except for the three main families of Akamichi Choji, Hyuga Neji, and Nara Shikamaru, the original Inuzuka Kiba was indeed replaced by Rock Lee. We are all assembled, so let's go. Nara Shikamaru gave the order without hesitation when he saw that everyone was gathered. At this point, the small team that brought back Uchiha Sasuke was considered to have set off. After the large group left, footsteps were heard in the woods nearby. It was the red-haired Uzumaki Karen. Can we leave now? If we don't leave now, we will lose them. Quote, little sister, don't panic. With Brother Long here, we won't lose each other. At the same time, Brother Long slipped out from Uzumaki Karen's sleeve. Uzumaki Karen doesn't belong to Konoha Ninja, so Qingchuan Tianming naturally can't take her with him on this mission. The only compromise is to use Brother Long. As Qingchuan Tianming's summoning beast, the man and the beast have a soul contract, so it's easy for them to find each other's location. After the large army sneaked into the forest, the careful Nara Shikamaru quickly found a trace of white spider silk. It should be left by the people who took Sasuke away, in this direction. The Fire Country has the richest and most complex terrain among the 5 major countries. As the first country in the ninja world, the land resources of the Fire Country are extremely rich, with mountains, rivers, deserts and everything else. The most difficult place in the pursuit war is the dense forest. The dense forest has always been hundreds of miles long, and the sunlight cannot penetrate well in the lush places. This provides a natural hiding place for many lawless people. After all, it is more difficult to find someone than to be found. After receiving Uchiha Sasuke, the 4 sound ninjas have been rushing all night. It won't take long for them to get out of the dense forest and reach the border of the Fire Country. Once they cross the border, it is the range of the Snake Cave. In a clearing in the woods, a group of people chose to rest after running around. Uchiha Sasuke stood aside in a very aloof manner without saying anything. The Otoshi quartet did not take it seriously. They only saw the curse seal on Kidomaru's neck change slightly, and then he jumped onto a big tree, gently stroked the tree trunk with his palm, and strands of blue chakra were drawn out. This operation made Uchiha Sasuke stunned. It was the first time he saw such an ability. No need to look, this is Kidomaru's special ability. Jirobo said lightly, Kidomaru's special ability in State 1 is to absorb the potential chakra from plants to replenish himself. State 1. Uchiha Sasuke was puzzled. What is this? Jirobo was stunned and then laughed. That's right, although you have the curse seal of Lord Orochimaru, you don't know how to use it. Since everyone serves Lord Orochimaru, I will show you a demonstration. As he said that, Jirobo activated State 1, and saw a triangular spell spreading from the curse seal on his neck, and Jirobo's whole momentum became deeper. Earth escape land and earth flip. Jirobo took the seal with both hands, and then inserted his hands into the ground and made a lifting gesture. Suddenly, a large piece of ground under his feet rose up, and as Jirobo flipped, a large piece of land turned over and fell heavily. In my State 1, I can gather chakra within a range and use the sudden hardening of diluted soil for fighting. After Jirobo released it, the spell gradually degraded. Uchiha Sasuke was shocked. Is the power of this curse seal really that magical? The guy named Kidomaru can absorb the chakra of planting trees, and this Jirobo has an unsolvable earth escape. The other two have not yet shown their abilities. At this moment, the last trace of uneasiness of defecting from Konoha was also smoothed out. It is absolutely impossible to have such ability or ninjutsu in Konoha, and to surpass the mountain of Uchiha Itachi, you must have such power. Okay, let's do the real work next. At this time, the two-headed Sakin Uken stood up and said, "You have also seen the ability of Lord Orochimaru. You can get such ability by following Lord Orochimaru. But it also comes at a price." Sakin Uken took out a small bottle with black pills in it. "Before you do all this, you have to die once. This is a special pill that will isolate your life force for a short period of time, so that Konoha's pursuers cannot track your location. It can also improve your physical condition." Sakin and Uken threw the pill directly over. Uchiha Sasuke took the pill, opened the stopper and poured out a pill in his palm, and swallowed it cleanly. The medicine melted in his mouth, and Sasuke felt as if a ball of hot flames spread from his throat to all parts of his body in an instant, and then his eyes went black and he fainted. "Get to work." Sakin and Uken called out and took out a scroll. The scroll was spread out, and Sakin and Uken bit their fingertips and dripped blood. In an instant, white smoke flashed, and a half-human high-sealed pot appeared. The size of the pot was just enough to put Sasuke in it. Jirobo grabbed Uchiha Sasuke like a chicken and threw him into the bucket. "Wait." Kidomaru jumped down from the tree and smiled. "Konoha will definitely send people to chase us. Let's look forward to the chasing Konoha ninjas." When these words came out, the four Otoshi were all shocked, because they were all warmongers. "What do you want to do?" asked the quiet Taiyuya. "I want to." Kidomaru sneered, then stretched out his hand and tore the clothes on Uchiha Sasuke into pieces. The torn clothes were rolled up into 4 small cloth balls and distributed. "When the time comes, I will. We can split into 4 groups, and I will take care of this kid. When the Konoha ninjas come here, they will split into 4 groups, and then you know what will happen." Quote. Okay. I haven't killed anyone for a long time. Jirofang nodded repeatedly, he couldn't wait. Although the others didn't show it, they also showed excitement in their eyes. In this way, Uchiha Sasuke was stuffed into the sealed barrel. The Sound 4 used another ninja technique, the 4 black mist formation. On the other side, Konoha's pursuit team also arrived without stopping. In the woods, Nara Shikamaru, who was responsible for surveying the terrain in front, stopped and said with a very bad expression, "Bad news, the atmosphere is scattered." Quote. "The smell of the smell dispersed, does it mean that the other party has noticed the pursuit of Konoha and responded?" Nara Shikamaru squatted on the branch, frowning. Nara Shikamaru didn't want to take over this difficult task if there was no suitable person. Because it was too difficult, the enemy had followed Orochimaru to invade Konoha. On the pursuit team, except for himself and Akamichi Choji, everyone else was still a genin. "Are you having problems?" Qingchuan Tianming asked, looking at the wise man of the Hokage. The other party should not be underestimated. They chose to act separately, but I'm curious why the 5 of them are in 4 directions. Nara Shikamaru had a problem. Qingchuan Tianming secretly praised Shikamaru's careful thinking, but he would not take the initiative to tell the reason. Did he lose track? What should I do? Uzumaki Naruto scratched his head and said in confusion. "Naruto, don't make trouble, let Shikamaru think of a solution." Hyuga Neji said. "It's obvious. Nara Shikamaru's strategy is recognized by the 12 little strongmen. When I first gathered people, I considered Inuzuka Kiba. His sense of smell combined with Akamaru will definitely be able to find the correct route, but I made a choice." Nara Shikamaru's eyes swept over the people present one by one. "After we catch up with the enemy, we still have to fight. In order to make up for my weak fighting power, I found Shaoli." Nara Shikamaru murmured, "The problem now is that the 4 smells are scattered. It means that Sasuke is likely to go in 4 directions. If we make the wrong choice, it is very likely that we will go in the opposite direction. Then use your method." Qingchuan Tianming said. "There is a high probability of error in choosing one of the 4. If we are wrong, once Sasuke steps out of the border of the Land of Fire, his name as a traitor will be established. Nara Shikamaru was a little surprised that Qingquan Tianming could see through his thoughts, but he could only say, for the mission, we can only split up for now. Next, let's choose. I will go with Choji because we are in the same class, and my shadow imitation technique and his multiplication technique can cooperate. Nara Shikamaru expressed his thoughts. Then I will go with Shaoli. Hyuga Neji said slowly. Hehe, then I will definitely go with Tianming. Uzumaki Naruto laughed. In fact, it doesn't matter whether we split up or not, we are all in the same class. However, Qingquan Tianming broke Uzumaki Naruto's thoughts. Naruto, we can't be together. Why? Uzumaki Naruto's eyes revealed great doubts. Qingquan Tianming's mouth twitched. How should I explain that I brought a sister with me? Because before departure, Lady Tsunade gave me a secret mission and asked me to carry it out independently. Qingquan Tianming said quickly. He lied without blushing. Although this answer is ridiculous, unexpectedly no one doubted it. After all, among those present, Qingquan Tianming's combat power is indeed the ceiling. In this case, Naruto will follow us. Time is tight and the task is heavy. Let's chase. As the captain, Nara Shikamaru can only accept the unreliable factor of Uzumaki Naruto. After determining the grouping and route, the team dispersed in 3 directions. As for the 4th smell, it was fortunately very close to the 3rd one and was directly taken by Shikamaru. Qingquan Tianming was the only one left at the place. After a while, a figure appeared from the bushes behind. It was Uzumaki Karen. Little sister, look, Brother Long said he wouldn't get lost, so he wouldn't get lost. As soon as he came up to her, Brother Long flew from Uzumaki Karen's collar to Qingquan Tianming's shoulder as if he was going home. Qingquan Tianming's face turned green, and he kept complaining in his heart, Brother Long, where on earth have you been hiding from Karen? Brother Long instantly understood what Qingquan Tianming meant. Oh. Don't think about me with dirty thoughts. Brother Long only likes female dragons. Tianming, what are we going to do next? Uzumaki Karen was on a mission with Qingquan Tianming for the first time. In addition to the unknown dangers, there was more excitement. Pursuit mission. Qingquan Tianming had already planned it in his mind. Let Uzumaki Karen sense the river, and the two came to the river that runs through the forest. When he came to the river, Qingquan Tianming sniffed the smell and it was exactly what he thought. In the original novel, Sakan and Ukan and Inazuka Kiba had a battle by the river, and now there is some Sasuke's aura by the river. It's easy to guess that they used Sasuke's items to split into 4 groups. Second, there is a waterfall in the middle of the stone statue in the Valley of the End. You can find it by following the river. Not only can you reach the check-in location, but you can also kill someone at the same time, which can be said to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. At the same time, in the intricate border area of the 5 major countries, there is an inconspicuous underground cave in the forest. Going down the passage, you can see that there are artificial fortifications underground, whether it is rooms or passages. Ah, Sasuke. Why hasn't Sasuke come yet? I want Sasuke. A shrill roar came from the end. Kabuto. Where is Sasuke? In the room, Orochimaru, who was lying in bed, looked at the pharmacist Kabuto who came in from the door to get medicine and asked. Lord Orochimaru, the mission of the Sound 4 was completed very well. Although there are Konoha ninjas chasing behind, it is harmless. The old man was very happy. In the Snake Cave, the most popular person around Orochimaru is Kabuto Yakushi. This can be seen from the fact that Orochimaru defended him in the Battle of Tansho Street. Kabuto Yakushi came to the bed and untied the bandage on Orochimaru's arm, and the dark and smelly blood flowed down. After using the palm fairy technique to stop the bleeding, Kabuto Yakushi replaced the white gauze with new medicine. Kabuto, you can't fail this time. There must be no mistakes in bringing Sasuke back. Orochimaru said hurriedly. Don't worry, Lord Orochimaru. Kabuto Yakushi also said slowly. Although they had no way to deal with Qingquan Tianming who followed Jiraiya, they had Uchiha Sasuke under control. After leaving Orochimaru's room, Kabuto Yakushi came to a room full of instruments. There were various medical instruments in the room, as well as a large amount of nutrient solution. There were cannulas in the nutrient solution that extended from the storage tank to the bed in the corner, and a skinny guy was lying on the bed. If it weren't for the slight rise and fall of the abdomen, it would be like a corpse. Lord Kabuto, is the plan not going well? Just as Kabuto Yakushi was about to leave, a hoarse voice sounded from the bed. It's not that it's not going well, but there are ninjas chasing from Konoha, so it will take some time. Kabuto Yakushi said lightly. He didn't think that the ninjas sent by Konoha could harm the 4 sound ninjas. That means it's not going well. The person on the bed sat up, and the tubes on his body fell off. This is a bloodless face, and a look of envy appeared on Kagaya Kimamaro's face at this time. If my body had not allowed it, I would have merged with Lord Orochimaru long ago. Now the situation is critical. Lord Orochimaru urgently needs to replace his body, and my body is not up to standard, so that guy is the most important. I want to go to support. Kagaya Kimamaro was about to get out of bed. Kimamaro, your health is not optimistic. Yakushi Kabuto shook his head. Kagaya Kimamaro smiled lightly and said, as long as I can bring people back, it doesn't matter if I die. After all, I can give everything for Lord Orochimaru's ambition. In the end, Yakushi Kabuto still couldn't persuade Kagaya Kimamaro. In fact, there are 5 people in the Sound Ninja. The strongest one is not Kitamaru but Kagaya Kimamaro, who is sick. However, as his condition worsens, this guy has not taken action for a long time. At the same time, in the dense forest near the border of the Land of Fire, on the side of a river, Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Karen both maintained a high-speed moving state. The summoned beast Long Jie was hovering around Qingchuan Tianming. Now Long Jie was almost 2 meters strong and looked more domineering. Uzumaki Karen would blush from time to time when she came to Qingchuan Tianming. Boy, there is unusual information ahead. The originally long-winded Long Jie said a sentence and then hovered on Qingchuan Tianming's arm. Qingchuan Tianming's footsteps also stopped. They followed the river to an underground dark river, that is, the river passed through the mountain and was within the river range in the mountain. Qingchuan Tianming took a quick look at the terrain. There were strange-shaped stone bars hanging upside down on the dome, and there were also ground spikes protruding on both sides of the river that laughed non-stop. Get out! Uzumaki Karen suddenly aimed at her 3 o'clock position, poured chakra into the shuriken and broke through the wind. Boom! The spikes were blown into pieces, and along with the sound of rocks falling to the ground, a bloodthirsty voice was heard. Amazing perception. The person who walked out of the smoke slowly was the 2-headed single Saken Uken. Both of Saken and Uken stared at Qingchuan Tianming with surprise. I deliberately chose the water route and waited for someone here. I didn't have any hope, but you took the initiative to deliver it. I'm so lucky. Saken and Uken licked their lips and said. I deliberately chose the water route and wanted to find someone. I didn't have any hope, but I found you. To be honest, you are gone. Qingchuan Tianming also snorted coldly. Saken and Uken have a very hot temper. When Qingchuan Tianming provoked them with the same words, they were not ruthless. The figure rushed in front of Qingchuan Tianming and was about to break through head-on. More punches. The second head behind Zuo Jin woke up, and when it received the battle signal, its cells began to split and move around, and suddenly it launched a violent attack with 3 heads and 6 arms. Qingchuan Tianming did not hesitate to take out the Sun Wheel sword from his waist and started to fight, but this time he did not unsheathe the sword. Ding 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 ding. Super high. The collision of the fast multi-punch and the Nichiren sword made a series of noises, and the speed of the two was surprisingly comparable. Compared with the shock on Saken and Uken's faces, Qingchuan Tianming's expression was indifferent. He usually practiced sword alone, and now he finally had a sparring partner. Yes, Saken and Uken, who made many ninjas tremble in fear, were just tools for practicing swords in Qingchuan Tianming's eyes. Multi-kick. Seeing that the multi-punch could not cause any damage, Saken and Uken's 4 legs also swept over without a trace. Qingchuan Tianming was still not slow, and the dragon brother on his shoulder burst out with a shout of, I'm here, and entangled with Saken and Uken's 4 legs. Saken's pupils shrank sharply. Are there any ninja snakes? The snake is the real snake. You are the snake, your whole family is snakes. When Brother Long heard this, he immediately became angry and spit out a hot breath directly from his mouth. This breath rushed towards Zuo Jin and Yu Jin like a ray, and the latter also dodged hurriedly. The hot breath directly opened a bottomless gully on the river bank, like an abyss. Zuo Jin and Yu Jin broke out in a cold sweat. Such destructive power is too amazing, right? You two-headed monster, I'll give you another chance to tell me what I am. Brother Long just hasn't evolved yet, so now he has no horns or dragon claws. He does look like a snake, but this is not a reason for people to say it casually. There are roughly only a few types of summoned beasts in the Naruto world, and dragons are unheard of. Asked by Brother Long, Zuo Jin and Yu Jin were stunned. Aren't you a snake? I unilaterally declare that you are dead. Brother Long returned from the ground to Qingquan Tianming's right arm and instantly entered the combat state, but this time it was not that kind of pattern, but the hand was directly covered with black scales. Feeling the power of the right arm surging like a wave, Qingquan Tianming understood. Brother Long was very angry, and the consequences were serious. Want to kill us? Zuo Jin and Yu Jin were no longer entangled with Brother Long's true identity. On the contrary, Qingquan Tianming's strength made him interested. I didn't expect that the ninja chasing Konoha would have a master like you. I was afraid that I was a weak chicken and there was no pleasure in killing. Zuo Jin and Yu Jin laughed cruelly, and his limbs began to wriggle. This unique technique. The power of the double magic. The limbs can be used as a carrier to change their positions arbitrarily to achieve unexpected effects. Zuo Jin and Yu Jin suddenly stomped their feet. The whole person shot out like a sharp arrow, attacking Qingquan Tianming, and at the same time began to show irregular spells on his body, and his strength was further expanded. Qingquan Tianming stood still, signaled Uzumaki Karen to retreat, and then took the initiative to meet him. Like a gust of wind passing through, the sun blade on his waist was also unsheathed when Qingquan Tianming moved. Wind-style wind-killing formation. Qingquan Tianming didn't even need to connect the seal, and uttered a light sound. The wind attribute chakra poured into the sun blade, and at the same time, two chakra clones appeared beside him. A knife stabbed out. The chakra clone also made a sword drawing and slashing action. Suddenly, the wind-style sword slash emitted by Qingquan Tianming's body and the two chakra condensed sword slashes whistled away. Wind-style wind-killing formation is a ninjutsu created by Qingquan Tianming himself. Although his chakra reserves and comprehension ability make it not difficult for him to learn Konoha's ninjutsu. But he still chose his own path. Since he had the ultimate chakra and the divine weapon Nichiren blade. Then the way to become stronger is not to practice Konoha ninjutsu foolishly. Instead, he had to use chakra and weapons to create new techniques. This move is Qingquan Tianming's first step, a technique that only he knows. The three sword slashes close to the face felt like cutting off everything. Sakin and Ukin didn't care about taking it hard. They immediately turned on the second state. Sakin and Ukin's skin turned vermilion, and horns grew on their two brain holes. Brother. Use that technique. Ukin behind him reminded. Sakin quickly bit his finger and carved a summoning formation on the ground. Summoning technique. Rashomon. As the summoning formation was completed, a strangely shaped door broke out of the ground and protected Sakin and Ukin. Boom. The wind-attributed sword slash hit the front of Rashomon directly, and Rashomon made a series of loud noises, barely blocking Qingquan Tianming's attack. Ha ha ha, good ninjutsu. But you can never break through the strongest defense Rashomon. Sakin and Ukin walked out from behind Rashomon and laughed wantonly. Are you sure you blocked it? Qingquan Tianming raised a smile at the corner of his mouth. Do you still have? Before Sakin and Ukin finished speaking, two chakra piercings suddenly broke through the ground where he was standing and pierced his two souls. When Sakin and Ukin were shocked. Their bodies could not move, and even the chakra circulation in their bodies stagnated. Qingquan Tianming sheathed the sun wheel sword and said slowly, my wind-killing formation has a total of 3 sword formations. The middle one is a wind escape attack, and the other 2 are condensed by chakra. You only blocked 1. Quote. Sakin and Ukin were terrified when they heard it. What terrified them was that they thought Rashomon blocked 3 sword slashes. Who would have thought that outside their spiritual Rashomon, 2 chakra sword formations would actually escape underground and become ground spikes? Chakra condensation and form change. Such a thing is unheard of. Are you a Jonin of Konoha? Sakin and Ukin boldly speculated. Qingchuan Tianming shook his head. I'm just killing your people. As soon as the voice fell, the dragon scales on Qingchuan Tianming's arms instantly stood up and shot Sakan and Ukan's body into a sieve like bullets. Qingchuan Tianming didn't feel much after killing Sakan and Ukan almost overwhelmingly. The method of chakra externalization and condensation was only achieved by Uzumaki Naruto's nine-tail transformation. It was just that Qingchuan Tianming took the lead in doing it with the extreme chakra. When the chakra spikes pierced into the soles of his feet, Sakan and Ukan's chakra was also suppressed and was in an unusable state. This was the key to Qingchuan Tianming's killing. Tianming, you are so handsome. Uzumaki Karen's fan girl, Stone Hammer. The two of them were very close. Sakan and Ukan's strength is not low among the four Otonin, but he met Aokawa Tenmei. After dealing with Sakan and Ukan, Aokawa Tenmei did not stop and continued to walk along the river. However, not everyone was as smooth as Aokawa Tenmei. In the dense forest, Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji and Uzumaki Naruto had not moved forward for long when they met Jirobo, one of the four. It can't be said that they met. Jirobo appeared so openly, and he did not plan to ambush, but to break through head-on. A guy about the same size as Choji. Uzumaki Naruto said in shock as he looked at Jirobo, who was as big as a hill. Are you the strongest among the chasing ninjas? Jirobo said confidently. Don't get me wrong, we are not a combat unit, we are just responsible for the negotiation. The cautious Nara Shikamaru did not tear his face directly. Unexpectedly, Jirobo did not give any chance to circumvent. He took out a cloth ball from his pocket and said, we used Sasuke's clothes to disperse, just to disperse you and then defeat you one by one. No matter who you are in Konoha, if you want to move forward, just step over me. Jirobo's fists and feet collided, making a dull sound. This is a fat man with strong physical strength. Then fight. Uzumaki Naruto is not a person who dithers, he directly starts with a shadow clone and sieges. Jirobo clenched his fists and pounded the ground to knock away the earth and rocks, and each rock pierced a clone. Just when Jirobo wanted to launch an attack, his body suddenly couldn't move. Looking down, he found a black shadow appeared under his feet. Interesting. Jirobo smiled. Multiplication technique. Akamichi Choji is also a flexible fat man. His right arm slowly grew bigger, and then a punch came down from the top of Jirobo's head. Uzumaki Naruto's shadow clone fainted to attract firepower, Nara Shikamaru used the shadow imitation technique to secretly contain, and finally Akamichi Choji output damage. It can be regarded as a pretty good combination of punches. The ground trembled, the smoke dissipated, and Jirobo was beaten into the ground, leaving only his head. Not bad, not bad. Jirobo praised repeatedly. Compared to the stuff that was killed casually, you are very good. You talk too much nonsense. Nara Shikamaru snorted coldly, and several detonating tags flew out. Boom boom boom. The continuous explosions directly blasted a pit in the open space around Jirobo. Did he kill him? Looking at the disappearing Jirobo, Akamichi Choji asked in confusion. No, you underestimated me by killing me so easily. Suddenly, a teasing voice sounded from behind, and Jirobo appeared behind him. Wow, how did you appear there? Jirobo was still full of ideas. Konoha did not have detailed information about the Sound 4, so they did not know that Jirobo was a ninja who was good at earth escape, and it was almost like walking on flat ground in the soil. I can't move. Nara Shikamaru looked down at his feet, and saw a pile of mud under his feet that blocked his body. This technique is very similar to the shadow imitation technique, but it cannot control the movement. Kaka. The ground around Jirobo began to crack and explode, and his body slowly rose up. Jirobo was very calm about the performance of the three people. Your strength surprises me, but it's not enough. Let me see more. Jirobo laughed and began to seal his hands. Earth Escape Earth Prison Hall. As the ninjutsu was launched, the earth blocks on the ground stood up one after another, and quickly formed a semicircular earth prison with the three people who were unable to move as the boundary. The earth prison descended and covered the three people. Being in the earth prison, the control of the three people was also released. I was careless. I didn't expect this guy to be so difficult to deal with. Nara Shikamaru frowned. The opponent's combat awareness was very high. You want to trap us with a turtle shell? Impossible. Uzumaki Naruto immediately summoned his shadow clone and started punching and kicking the earth wall, but the strange thing was that when Uzumaki Naruto left the fist mark was restored at a speed visible to the naked eye. Absorb. Absorb what? Choji, use ninjutsu to hit the earth wall head-on. I have a guess. Nara Shikamaru said slowly. Akamichi Choji put down the potato chips and came to the earth wall, then he channeled his chi into his dantian and let out a hu. Super push hands. His palms partially multiplied. When the palm was pushed out, a powerful palm pressure from the machine blasted a huge pit out of the earth wall. But this huge pit still recovered quickly. Wait, stop. When the two were about to continue attacking, they were stopped by Nara Shikamaru. What's wrong? Nara Shikamaru made a shushing gesture, and then began to write on the ground with his fingers. This earthen prison can absorb chakra, and all the jutsu bombarded on it will be absorbed, but any absorption jutsu has a critical value. It seems that this guy is not letting the jutsu absorb chakra, but he is outside the earthen prison. Nara Shikamaru's analysis made the two tremble with fear. While being shocked by Jirobo's ability, they also gained a new understanding of Nara Shikamaru's ability to speculate. The three were caught off guard by Jirobo's Tulaudumu, and the impatient Uzumaki Naruto took action directly, but Nara Shikamaru saw something different. Generally speaking, most Earth escape ninjutsu are defensive ninjutsu. Regardless of how strong the defensive ninjutsu is, any other ninjutsu will react to the collision with Earth escape ninjutsu. But it is definitely impossible to absorb. So Nara Shikamaru used Akamichi Choji to attack again, confirming the conjecture. If it is absorbed, it means that it is not an ordinary Earth escape ninjutsu. Nara Shikamaru thought for a while, and then continued to write with his fingers. He must be absorbing chakra outside, we have to create an illusion. Nara Shikamaru wrote his plan very carefully, and the two nodded repeatedly. As for why he had to write it down. Of course, he was afraid that Jirobo would find out in advance. And does Jirobo have the ability to analyze information when he hears Nara Shikamaru writing? Of course not. Yoshi. After clarifying the method, Uzumaki Naruto directly created more than a dozen clones without saying a word. Then they started fighting each other. Look at me blasting open this broken shell. Several shadow clones punched and kicked each other, and in the chaos, Uzumaki Naruto's body was quietly recuperating, and Akamichi Choji, who was the main player, was eating potato chips. In addition to the Earth Den, Jirobo's hands were placed on the Earth wall, and the endless chakra was drawn in. As Nara Shikamaru guessed, the Earth escape technique, Earth Den, is to trap the enemy while converting all the enemy's attacks into chakra for your own use. Listening to the endless fighting sounds inside, Jirobo was so happy. Fight. Fight harder. After a while, Jirobo felt that the absorbed chakra was weakening. Haha, it's almost done. Jirobo put down his arms. In his imagination, the three people inside were exhausted. Without chakra, you can die. Earth escape Earth flow thorn. Jirobo raised one hand, and the Earth attribute chakra gathered in the palm of his hand to form a sharp shuttle. He wanted to penetrate the Earth prison in one go and kill. In the Earth prison hall, Nara Shikamaru's pupils flashed with a gleam of light. Now. Do it. After the order, Akamichi Choji stood up and began to make seals, and his body swelled up as if it was filled with air. Human bomb chariot. Akamichi Choji formed a sphere and rushed forward, and the out-of-control Earth prison was smashed like a piece of paper. Boom. What? Jirobo said in shock. Didn't they run out of chakra? It happened in a flash. After breaking through the Earth prison, Akamichi Choji's human bomb chariot did not stop, but flew into the air and crushed towards Jirobo with the force of falling. On the other side, Uzumaki Naruto also instantly activated the shadow clone, and the wind attribute chakra began to gather. Rasengan. The situation of the battle took a sharp turn for the worse. But Jirobo laughed wildly after a brief shock. Nice little trick, but do you think you can beat me like this? Stake 2. Jirobo roared, and the spell behind him changed again. His body turned vermilion and his body became huge. Earth escape. Return of the earth and land. After slapping the ground angrily, a stone slab instantly broke out of the ground and blocked Jirobo, and also blocked Uzumaki Naruto's Rasengan. The powerful destructive force of the Rasengan almost broke the stone, but it was still not enough after Jirobo's state 2. Shadow imitation technique. Nara Shikamaru's means of containment came immediately, but Jirobo inserted a large piece of the ground into a ball of earth with one hand and threw it towards Nara Shikamaru. The shadow imitation technique was forced to stop when it was a few meters away from Jirobo, and Nara Shikamaru could only avoid it. At this time, Akamichi Choji's human bomb tank had appeared above Jirobo's head and knocked him into the ground. Boom! The pure power impact rippled out and even blew Uzumaki Naruto back repeatedly. After the smoke cleared, only Akamichi Choji in the human bomb tank state was left on the open ground. However, before Uzumaki Naruto could be happy, Akamichi Choji was directly bounced away, and the tank was released in the air, and he fell heavily on the ground. Almost. Jirobo, who was in a mess, came out of the dirt with a wild laugh. His clothes were torn and his face had some scratches, but they were just superficial injuries. For the first time, Nara Shikamaru felt. The enemy is so strong and the mission is so difficult. If you are held back by one person, the situation will be bad. Akamichi Choji has reached his limit. Uzumaki Naruto has too few ninjutsu, and he has no powerful means even if he has a detonating tag. This is a losing situation no matter how you look at it. Shikamaru. At this time, Akamichi Choji, who was lying on the ground, said, "You go chase Sasuke, I will leave him to him." As he said that, Akamichi Choji climbed up. He was the most seriously injured. Nara Shikamaru looked at Akamichi Choji calmly and patted Uzumaki Naruto slowly. "We'll wait for you in front. Don't worry, I'll catch up soon." Akamichi Choji grinned. The two of them left, and the two of them left. "Ah, you abandoned your companions and left by yourself." Jirofang did not stop the two from leaving. After all, in his eyes, only Akamichi Choji had good fighting power among the three people, and fighting with the strong was the most interesting. It's not abandonment, it's an agreement. Akamichi Choji wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his backhand. "This is an agreement with my companions. We will meet up after killing you." Ha! How shameless. Jirofang's face turned cold. "Then I will kill you directly." Among the four sound ninjas, Jirofang's strength is the lowest, so he usually has no say. On the surface, they are all containers of Orochimaru, but in fact, the snake cave speaks according to strength. So Jirofang doesn't believe in the so-called companions at all. Any companion speaks with strength. If you are weak, you can only die. I should say this. Akamichi Choji reached out and took out a small box with 3 pills inside. This is the secret medicine of the Akamichi family. Bet on everything for a fight. The pills are divided into 3 colors. Different colors have different medicinal strengths and side effects. The first one is a green spinach pill, the second one is a yellow curry pill, and the third one is a red pepper pill. The advantage of the first pill: a short burst of 30% of humans' own movement potential. Strength can be increased by more than 3 times its own limit. The disadvantage is that there is a short-term burst potential and a short-term painful return. The advantage of the second pill: strong body, nourishing chi and blood, warming the gate of life. The disadvantage is that it is easy to cause general weakness after taking it. The advantage of the third pill: enhance its own strength by 100 times, and the chakra will form a butterfly shape when used. The disadvantage is that taking the third pill will cause excessive load on the body as its own strength increases, leading to death. Akamichi Choji opened the small box, took out the green spinach ball and swallowed it, then took out a roll of kunai connected by silk thread, and wrapped the silk kunai around his body. Meet Bullet Needle Car. Akamichi Choji's body grew bigger again. As his body grew bigger, he also supported the kunai. Like a hedgehog. No fancy temptation. A real man will do it hard. The Meat Bullet Needle Car, blessed by the multiplication technique, rushed forward without hesitation. Can you use the same trick on me twice? Jirobo snorted coldly, and with a Earth Escape Earth Land Return, he blocked it again. Boom. But this time the Meat Bullet Needle Car exceeded Jirobo's imagination. The force formed by the sharp-toothed kunai under the crazy rotation directly tore the barrier. It attacked Jirobo directly. Jirobo was shocked, and the earth attribute chakra covered his palm and began to resist. Puff. His palm was instantly pierced, and Jirobo was pushed out and fell on the boulder. The flesh-shot needle car slowly stopped. Jirobo on the monk was bleeding profusely, and there was no intact part of his body. Before Jirobo could catch his breath, Akamichi Choji, who had stopped transforming into a tank, almost couldn't stand. This spinach ball can instantly improve his various abilities. But the loss is also doubled. Ahem. Jirobo coughed up blood and said, "It seems that you have reached the end of your strength first, and I am the winner." Jirobo dragged his wounded body to pick up the kunai on the ground and was about to kill Akamichi Choji. "The end of your strength. The winner is you." Akamichi Choji slowly raised his head, and the killing intent in his pupils was determined. "I have a trusted companion, how can I lose? How can I repay Shikamaru's trust? So I should be the winner." Akamichi Choji roared, and stuffed the yellow curry ball directly into his mouth. The pill melted in his mouth, and the warm medicinal power instantly soothed the pain and filled the chakra. Super multiplication technique. Akamichi Choji used the family forbidden technique directly in the limited time of the medicinal power. The surrounding ground sank instantly and fell apart. Akamichi Choji's body stretched to dozens of meters, looking at Jirobo like an ant. Jirobo was in a bad state. How can he fight this? The kunai fell to the ground, and Jirobo was about to run, but how could he escape? Akamichi Choji punched out. The forest in front directly opened up an amazing gully. The huge power directly swallowed Jirobo. No. Under the power, Jirobo's body turned into nothingness. So far, 2 of the 4 members of the Otonin group have died, and the greater crisis has already started from the snake cave. After doing all this, Akamichi Choji also fell on his back, super. When the multiplied state was lifted, he lay on the ground helplessly. Every part of his body was in severe pain as if it was torn apart. The yellow curry ball instantly suppressed the pain and filled the chakra, but the price was also huge. Akamichi Choji's eyelids became heavier, but a smile hung on the corners of his mouth. Shikamaru. I did it. On the other side, Nara Shikamaru and Uzumaki Naruto were moving at full speed. He had to travel day and night to make up for the time delayed by Jirobo. Shikamaru, is Choji okay? Uzumaki Naruto said worriedly. No, I believe in Choji, he is very strong. As the pursuit mission progressed, they were getting closer and closer to the border of the Land of Fire, and the atmosphere became more solemn. Among the 4 groups of soldiers, the fastest one was Rock Lee and Neji Hyuga. Because Might Guy's physical skills were superior in the 3rd team, even Neji Hyuga, who did not need to refine physical skills, had to practice with him. So the physical strength of the 3rd team was the strongest. Rock Lee and Neji Hyuga also followed Sasuke's scent and chased him closely. Little Lee, wait a minute. Neji Hyuga's figure suddenly stopped in front. Ningji, did you find anything? Rock Lee knew that Neji Hyuga, who had the Byakugan, had a stronger perception than himself. The smell is concentrated. Hyuga Neji stood on the tree trunk and instantly opened his Byakugan. In the Byakugan state, the world in front of him was much clearer, but Hyuga Neji did not find any suspicious traces. Ningji, what is this? Rock Lee pointed at the broken spider silk on the ground and asked. Hyuga Neji frowned. Get out of this tree. As the voice fell, a series of earthy yellow hard spikes swept out and directly broke the bottom of the tree. The 2 of them dodged it narrowly, and when the tree collapsed, a figure jumped down from the top of the tree. The person who came was Kidomaru, who was carrying the seal barrel. Kidomaru looked at the 2 in front of him with a joking look and sneered, not bad reaction. Sasuke. Looking at the seal barrel, Rock Lee wanted to take action directly, but before he took a few steps, a large net suddenly broke out of the ground and caught Rock Lee in it. Little Lee. Hyuga Neji shouted, but found that the place was already covered with dense spider webs. Swish. Hyuga Neji was also hung up by hanging himself on the southeast branch. Ah, it won't end like this, right? Kidomaru put the sealing barrel on the ground. You should thank me for giving you the opportunity. If I hadn't stopped, the border of the Land of Fire would not be far ahead. Kidomaru said with little interest, so don't let me down. In the spider web, Rock Lee struggled, but he couldn't tear the spider web with his strength. Little Lee, brute force can't tear the spider web. Hyuga Neji reminded. In the Byakugan world, Chakra flowed in the intricate spider web. Soon, Hyuga Neji thought of a way to deal with it. He took out a smoke bomb and threw it out. Smoke bombs are useless except for blocking vision. Kitamura walked out of the smoke, his pupils shrank slightly. Interesting. In front of him, 2 spider webs were floating intact, and there was indeed nothing inside. Whoosh! Above Kitamaru's head, Hyuga Neji kicked down from the sky. Boom! Kitamaru stretched out his hand to block, but Hyuga Neji suddenly changed his move and forcibly changed the direction of landing, and threw out a detonating tag at the same time. Boom boom boom. A violent explosion sounded, and the smoke dissipated. Where Kitamaru stood, spider silk wrapped his body like a cocoon. At this time, Rock Lee also came to the side of the sealed barrel. His plan with Hyuga Neji was perfectly coordinated. After noticing that there was chakra flowing in the spider silk, Hyuga Neji threw a smoke bomb to block Kitamaru's sight, and took advantage of this time. Hyuga Neji used his soft palm to successfully escape from the spider web of himself and Rock Lee without damaging it. Then Hyuga Neji attacked, and Rock Lee took Sasuke away. Crack! The spider web defense was torn apart. Realizing that he was left behind, Kitamaru was furious and wanted to chase Rock Lee. But the trap he had set up earlier did become a headache for him. The spider web hidden underground was also hung with dense detonating tags. This time there was really no way to go. Kitamaru slowly turned around and glared at Hyuga Neji and said, "Want to hold me back in this way?" As soon as the voice fell, the curse seal behind Kitamaru's neck began to take effect. His body changed dramatically in state too. Then he took a step forward and took the initiative to detonate a bunch of detonating tags. Hyuga Neji quickly dodged, but was still pushed out by the air wave. After a series of loud noises, thick smoke rose and flames shot up into the sky. Kitamaru walked out slowly, and at this time he was a human-shaped spider. Secret technique: Spider Spit. Secret technique: Spider Sticks Gold. Summoning technique: Big Spider. The first move was 3 secret techniques. Kitamaru first opened his mouth and spit out a white cannonball, which exploded in the air to form an overwhelming spider web that enveloped Hyuga Neji. At the same time, strands of golden liquid flowed out from the mouth and turned into golden shuttles that penetrated and restricted the movement. Finally, the spiritual needle carved on the finger was bitten. After the white mist, a huge black spider jumped up and hung from the southeast branch and hung down from the giant spider web. The abdomen squirmed for a while, and the densely packed small spiders were like rain. Hyuga Neji, who was the first to bear the brunt, felt his scalp tingling. He should have won the prize. Encountered the strongest Kitamaru. And Kitamaru had the idea of killing Hyuga Neji directly. The whole person stood on the spider web and began to brew the final blow. Spider war bow sorrowful split. A longbow made of sticky gold spewed out from his mouth. The battle with Kitamaru was the most dangerous one for Hyuga Neji. The opponent's strength and ninjutsu were beyond his cognition. Simply put, it was fear. Hyuga Neji, known as the genius of Konoha, was afraid. Whether it was a big black spider or a resilient spider web, he would die on the spot if he was not careful. However, Hyuga Neji would be afraid, but he would not ask for trouble. 8 trigrams 64 palms returned to heaven. Hyuga Neji used the family secret technique, and the chakra emanated from his body and gathered between his palms, forming a barrier as he turned the tide between his palms. When the densely packed little spiders landed on the Kaiden, they were instantly bounced away, and the huge force directly killed the little spiders. And one cycle of the sky followed another cycle of the sky, and the chakra energy also cut the spider web. Kitamaru on the giant spider web narrowed his eyes slightly. Absolute defense. Kaiden is an absolute defense, and Hyuga Neji is confident that he can withstand all attacks. It's enough for him to lose to Xiao Li once. The first wave of little spiders that swallowed chakra were quickly cleared. Hyuga Neji stomped his feet and was about to fight Kitamaru, but unfortunately the black little spiders were not eating dry food. Puff! The sharp shuttles condensed by the spider silk pierced through, forcing Hyuga Neji to stop his steps, and then the abdomen of the big spider squirmed violently, and another bunch of little spiders flew down. Turning his head and looking at the spider silk behind him, there was actually the feeling of flowing light and color. It seems to be very solid. Hyuga Neji frowned. This is a big trouble. If he can't break the giant spider web in a short time, then Hyuga Neji will have his back to the enemy. The arrows in the hands of the big spider and Kitamura will penetrate him in an instant. So it's a dead end. Looking at the distance, Rock Lee is running wildly in the woods with a sealing barrel on his back, without considering the support issue at all. What Rock Lee wants to do is to bring Sasuke back. For Hyuga Neji, Rock Lee believes that he will never lose. Ah, where is this? Rock Lee ran all the way, and it seemed that he had walked through the dense forest. At this time, he was standing on a tree, and in front of him was a grassland that stretched as far as the eye could see. A gust of wind blew, blowing the grass like the wind blowing wheat waves. The breeze hitting Rock Lee's face also brought his thoughts back. The route back to Konoha. Rock Lee slapped his forehead. Oh no, I'm a road idiot. Just as Rock Lee was holding his head in pain, a figure appeared on the plain in front of him. He walked slowly, and in fact, his figure flew over in the blink of an eye. Rock Lee smelled a hint of bad breath, and the other party also discovered his existence. Failed. Kagaya Junmaro muttered to himself, then pointed his finger at Rock Lee and said, "Are you the strongest ninja in Konoha? Have the others been defeated by you?" Although Rock Lee didn't understand what the others meant, he could judge from the Konoha ninja that the person in front of him was an enemy. "Why did you take Sasuke away?" Rock Lee immediately took the starting stance, ready to fight at any time. He is the vessel that Orochimaru has chosen, and Orochimaru needs to enter his body to gain more powerful strength. Kagaya Kunmaro answered surprisingly. Rock Lee was a little confused, but soon said angrily, "Sasuke is my companion, I can't let you hurt him. Let's speak with strength." "Okay." Kagaya Kimimaro responded, and a bone spur emerged from his palm. Kuga Kimimaro slashed out with the bone sword, and at the same time, a sword energy swept through, and Kagaya Kimimaro came to Rock Lee's back and slashed down with a sword. Rock Lee turned around quickly, put his palms together, blocked the attack with his bare hands, and kicked Kagaya Kimimaro away with a sweeping kick, and then stood up and hit him with two knees. When Kagaya Kimimaro was hit by the sweeping kick, he crossed the bone swords in both hands and began to defend. Rock Lee's two knees hit the bone swords but did not cause effective damage. The two distanced themselves, and Kagaya Kimimaro landed easily. "Your physical skills are very strong. Your is not bad either." Rock Lee rubbed his sore knees. His physical skills were at least advanced, but he couldn't break the bone sword. "This is my bone sword. Thanks to my bloodline limit, the corpse bone vein, I can freely manipulate bone bud cells and osteoclasts, and even control the calcium concentration to form bones." Ability. Hard bones are harder than steel, which means they have a defense that prevents ordinary physical attacks from getting close. Kagaya Kimimaro actually explained directly, revealing all his trump cards. Maybe no one would have thought of such a battle. Rock Lee and Kagaya Kimimaro are clearly opponents, but there is a sense of harmony. No trash talk, no wanton destruction of scenery. Instead, there is a feeling of explanation for every punch and kick, every move and every style. Next, I'm going to use my first technique. Corpse Vein Willow Dance. As Kagaya Kimimaro explained, sharp bone spurs grew on his shoulders, elbows, and knees. The bone spurs felt endlessly sharp. And Kagaya Kimimaro's aura became sharper. Then, Kagaya Kimimaro moved, charging like a running beast. Rock Lee turned to defense because he didn't know how to fight at all. He couldn't do it at all. And Kagaya Kimimaro also sees the weakness that Rock Lee didn't dare to get close to him casually, and harvested him in a close face. Boom boom boom. Rock Lee was highly focused. He had to avoid being stabbed by the bone spurs, so he had to see every move of Kagaya Kimimaro and then counterattack. Every time they fought, Rock Lee felt that the bone spurs were extremely hard, and at the same time, the strong wind from the bone spurs made his face hurt. The two's moves were getting faster and faster, and even the speed of the moves could not be seen clearly, only the afterimages of fists and kicks kept crossing. Bang! Kagaya Kimimaro slapped out with a palm, and the bone spur in his hand spun out. Rock Lee bent his waist and fell to the ground. At the same time, he supported the ground with one hand and kicked directly on the top of Kagaya Kimimaro's head with a whip kick. Rock Lee's cheek was also cut with a blood line. The two of them once again pulled away from each other. Rock Lee wiped the blood off his face with his backhand and looked directly at the person in front of him. Kagaya Kimimaro also rubbed his head for a rare time. It must be said that Rock Lee's physical skills are also very good. In dozens of rounds of fighting, he not only avoided the bone spur attack but also fought back and forth. You are very powerful, so I decided to use the second ninjutsu. Kagaya Kimimaro. Corpse Bone Bane, Tsubaki Dance. Kagaya Junmaro reached out and unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his muscular upper body. At the same time, the bone spurs on the palm of his right hand retracted, and then he stroked his left shoulder and pulled out a slightly longer bone sword. Rock Lee's eyes were full of solemnity. It was the first time he saw an opponent with such a strange attack method. Without any nonsense, Kagaya Junmaro launched Tsubaki Dance. His physical skills once again reached a new level. He rushed over and made an upward slash with the bone sword in his hand. The row of bone spurs broke through the ground and bit down at Rock Lee from both sides. Rock Lee quickly jumped into the air, but Kagaya Junmaro also came behind him at the same time, ready to stab with a sword. External Lotus. In a hurry, Rock Lee could only use the second stage of the external lotus. The white bandage on his arm spread out and bound the bone sword that stabbed him. Boom. The two fell to the ground. Kagaya Kunmaro looked down, but the bone sword in his hand could not move. The front part of the bone sword had been wrapped by the bandage, and Rock Lee also coughed up blood, but he still stopped the attack. Kagaya Kunmaro waved his left hand expressionlessly, and another bone spur grew out of the palm of his left hand, which could end Rock Lee's life at any time. However, at this moment, the sealed barrel beside him trembled violently. The seals on it fell off one after another and billowing black smoke came out. Bang! The sealed barrel exploded, and Uchiha Sasuke walked out of it, but now he seemed to be a little different from before. His figure became much stronger, and his skin became gray and black. The most obvious thing was the unusually strong aura. Kagaya Kunmaro was also a little distracted. Is this the container that Orochimaru has set his sights on? It is really extraordinary. Taking advantage of the moment when Kagaya Kunmaro was distracted, Rock Lee let go of the bandage and punched him out at the same time. Sasuke. Come back to Konoha with me. Rock Lee said. Kagaya Kimimaro is very powerful. If it's hard to fight, just run away. If it doesn't work, he and Sasuke will join forces. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Sasuke ignored Rock Lee, just smiled strangely and walked forward. Sasuke. Rock Lee wanted to chase, but Kagaya Kimimaro rushed forward again, and the bone sword threw out a sword shadow to block Rock Lee's action. Wait a minute! Rock Lee shouted. Kagaya Kimimaro stopped attacking, and he really stopped and looked at him in confusion. Rock Lee stood there for a few seconds, as if he had made a profound decision. Then he took out a porcelain bottle from his bag, and the word, wine, was written on the bottle. Rock Lee still remembered that when he returned home after training, his father invited him to have a drink. He drank it without anyone noticing. Unexpectedly, after drinking it, Rock Lee started to punch like crazy, not recognizing any relatives. In the end, the crisis was resolved because Might Guy arrived in time. Therefore, alcohol is a forbidden item for Rock Lee, but also a means. Rock Lee opened the lid, and a pungent smell of alcohol hit him. Gulp. Rock Lee drank it all in one gulp, threw the bottle away, and quickly entered the state. His face turned red, and even his steps were swaying. This operation also confused Kagaya Kimimaro. If I read it correctly. He drank wine. What ninjutsu is used with alcohol? The answer is unknown because Rock Lee was lying on the ground and sleeping. Kagaya Kimimaro approached, and the bone sword pierced out. Rock Lee, who was originally lying on the ground, suddenly flew up with both feet at a faster speed and kicked Kagaya Kimimaro in the chest. Ku. Rock Lee's steps were weak, and he kept drinking. The two of them were in a state of panic, and the two sides were in a state of panic. Just when Drunken Fist Xiao Li came online and fought Kagaya Kimimaro to a 50-50 tie, Uchiha Sasuke had already arrived at the border of the Land of Fire. There was a cliff at the border, and the sound of a subtle stream of water could be faintly heard. Uchiha Sasuke stood on a high place, looking into the distance with indifferent eyes. In which direction there were places with terrain completely different from this side, and as long as he stepped through them, he would be known as a rebel ninja of Konoha. Are you waiting for Naruto? At this time, a voice sounded from behind. Uchiha Sasuke turned around and saw Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Karen. Waiting for him and you, of course it's best for you. Uchiha Sasuke said lightly. I really didn't expect you to catch up. You were weak and knocked down and decided to surrender to Orochimaru. It's one thing. Others are carrying out the mission to bring you back. Qingchuan Tianming spoke bluntly. He knew the reason why Sasuke surrendered to Orochimaru. But even if Sasuke has thousands of reasons, he shouldn't let others help him bear the risk. How can you understand? Uchiha Sasuke sneered and said. You don't bear the pain of genocide, you won't understand. Qingchuan Tianming raised his eyebrows and said. My parents died in the Nine Tails Rebellion. Do I want to kill the Nine Tails for revenge? Do you think I can do it? Uchiha Sasuke was silent. He was not good at bickering. And he also knew what Qingchuan Tianming meant. The tailed beasts can be said to be the ceiling-level combat power in the Naruto world. When the Nine Tails appeared in Konoha, half of Konoha was destroyed, and many ninjas died in battle. Even the fourth-generation Namikaze Minato died before the Nine Tails was sealed. You are here to stop me, right? I won't go back. Uchiha Sasuke took out a kunai to express his position. You were also planted with a curse seal by Orochimaru. You should know the power of the curse seal. I can only rely on this to take revenge, so we are destined to be enemies. The second pillar is not called for nothing. Uchiha Sasuke is really full of middle school disease. Perhaps because he intervened in the Naruto world, compared with the original work, the current Uchiha Sasuke is not only single-minded in revenge, but also a little twisted in his heart. He wants revenge and wants others to recognize that he is right. I want to kill Uchiha Itachi. I can't improve my strength in Konoha, so I want to be a rebel ninja. I have a reason to do this, so you must know and recognize it. There is a feeling of moral kidnapping. The biggest pusher of the Uchiha clan's demise was Shimura Danzo, but Uchiha Sasuke put the entire Konoha and all the little strong men on the opposite side. Do you believe me when I say I'm on my way? Qingchuan Tianming laughed and said, I only have one thing to say. It's not the entire Konoha that destroyed the Uchiha clan, and it's not Konoha that stopped you from taking revenge. I hope you can correct your attitude towards revenge. These are quite meaningful words, and they are also what Qingchuan Tianming wanted to say. People have different ideas at different times and in different situations. When you want to change something, please follow your heart. It's just that Sasuke doesn't understand this truth now. Stop your preaching. Uchiha Sasuke snorted coldly, and the kunai in his hand broke through the wind. Qingchuan Tianming stood still, and Uzumaki Karen beside him did take out 10 shurikens. Shuriken Big Loop. 10 shurikens burst out at the same time to block the kunai head-on, and the remaining 9 shurikens were still powerful, approaching Sasuke in an instant like 9 suns connected by heart. The latter was shocked and quickly retreated and jumped off the cliff. Karen, don't attack. Just when Uzumaki Karen was about to chase, she was stopped by Qingchuan Tianming. I'll do this special battle. Qingchuan Tianming's figure also disappeared at the cliff. Under the cliff, through the faint mist, you can see a lake under the cliff. Coming here, the sound of water is even louder. After falling for about 30 seconds, the full picture of the bottom of the cliff has been revealed. Qingchuan Tianming's figure fell on a stone statue, and the water flowing out of the dense forest of Konoha formed a waterfall between the 2 stone statues. This is naturally the Valley of the End. Qingchuan Tianming stood on top of the stone statue of Senju Hashirama, looking at Uchiha Sasuke across from him. I want to see your full strength. Uchiha Sasuke opened his Sharingan, then quickly sealed his hands and charged a Chidori, with thunderous and lightning-like sounds. Uchiha Sasuke's Chidori had already penetrated Qingchuan Tianming, but before he could be happy, Qingchuan Tianming turned into a piece of wood. Substitution technique. Uchiha Sasuke. As Uchiha Sasuke's pupils moved, he saw Qingchuan Tianming standing on the water below. Can you still use the substitution technique in front of the Sharingan? Boom. Uchiha Sasuke jumped down from the top of the stone statue, and when he stepped on the water, the pure power blasted out layers of water splashes. When the water splashes fell, Uchiha Sasuke's curse seal had begun to spread. Great Fireball Technique. Chakra gathered in the throat and then spit out. The Great Fireball Technique under the curse seal ignited the water surface like a prairie fire. Water style. Water dragon bullet technique. Qingchuan Tianming finally formed a seal, and two water columns instantly rose from the water surface beside him and turned into a water dragon. The water dragon condensed by the water column broke through the water surface, and the dragon's mouth sprayed out the fireball technique that was burning the prairie. As the saying goes, water and fire cannot coexist, and water is the natural enemy of fire. However, in the cursed state, Uchiha Sasuke's fireball technique is obviously more powerful. Water escape water dragon bullet was gradually swallowed up and evaporated by the fireball. The next moment, Uchiha Sasuke had penetrated the steaming water mist and came to Qingchuan Tianming, and the kunai in his hand attacked according to the fatal points. Qingchuan Tianming was a little unhappy. It's a routine fight with you, right? It's not over yet. Reikiri. Qingchuan Tianming stretched out his fingers to clamp the deadly kunai. The lightning attribute chakra was transferred from his palm to Uchiha Sasuke's body, and at the same time, he raised his knee and hit him in the chest. Uchiha Sasuke instinctively flew backwards, but was caught by Qingchuan Tianming and hit several punches in the face. Suddenly, Uchiha Sasuke's figure flew out across the water, leaving a large splash. Ah! Uchiha Sasuke rushed over again with a carp jump, and the unstoppable momentum split the water surface into two sides, and the speed was even faster than the extreme. It seems that the power of the curse seal has given you a lot of confidence. Qingchuan Tianming's body also flew up, and came to the midair to start fighting. The physical skills of the two were comparable. Uchiha Sasuke was the kind of person who was well balanced. He elbowed, raised his knee, and pierced the kunai one after another, but they were all resolved by Qingchuan Tianming one by one. Have you had enough? Suddenly, Qingchuan Tianming broke Uchiha Sasuke's attack with his big hand, and pulled him into the water. Boom! The whole lake was in turmoil. The splashing water fell like a drizzle. And Uchiha Sasuke was directly smashed out. After recovering to his original appearance, he choked on a few mouthfuls of water and vomited on the water. Qingchuan Tianming looked at him calmly, and when he walked forward, the voice in his mind sounded. Ding! Activate the sign in task. Host, please stand still. Moving in the middle is considered as giving up. Qingchuan Tianming's mouth twitched. System, why is it that every time the task is activated, it is during a fight? It's difficult, but you can only do it. Uchiha Sasuke climbed up from the water, and he was a little scared when he saw Qingchuan Tianming who didn't attack. This guy is a monster. It's outrageous. I have obtained the power of the curse seal, but why am I still beaten by Qingchuan Tianming? That's right, it was a naked beating. If this was a life-and-death battle, I would have been torn into pieces long ago. Why are you so strong? Uchiha Sasuke asked a spiritual question. I think I have good talent and I work hard. When I was in the ninja school, there were few people who could match me. But why do you always suppress me? Uchiha Sasuke's expression was a little complicated. After experiencing despair, Uchiha Sasuke swore that he would never be powerless against anyone in this life. But the slap in the face came so quickly. Uchiha Itachi reminded him of the ugly life. And Qingchuan Tianming is the mountain that cannot be climbed. That kind of powerlessness is unbearable for Uchiha Sasuke. There are people beyond people, and there are mountains beyond mountains. Qingchuan Tianming thought about it and could only say this. Hey! Uchiha Sasuke laughed exaggeratedly. Then, violence rose in his pupils, and wisps of black smoke emanated from his body. His hair color and skin also changed again. If there is someone better than me, I will surpass him. If there is a mountain better than me, I will climb over it. For full strength, I am willing to give up everything. Uchiha Sasuke raised his head and roared, and the pupil of the Sharingan appeared gray and black. This is his state too. Ding! Sign in successfully. Boom! As soon as the sound of signing in successfully fell, Uchiha Sasuke's figure disappeared from sight, and then he appeared behind him and threw a punch. The defenseless Qingchuan Tianming was directly hit on the mountain wall, and his flesh and blood body hit the mountain wall. Qingchuan Tianming only felt that his body was crushed into pieces, and large mouthfuls of blood spurted out. Although he was strong, he was not invulnerable. He was caught off guard and took a full-strength punch from Uchiha Sasuke in State 2, which was naturally unbearable. This is my new power. Uchiha Sasuke broke through the water and came to the front and was about to attack. Where did this rat come from to use such a heavy hand? Brother Long jumped out from Qingchuan Tianming's sleeve. Originally, Brother Long didn't want to meddle in other people's business, but Sasuke was too. It was too much. A sneak attack and a fatal blow. Even a dragon like him couldn't stand it. Tenming. Uzumaki Karen exclaimed and came to Qingchuan Tianming's side, helped him up, and then roared at Sasuke. Are you crazy? Tianming didn't want to fight you with all his strength, why did you hit him so hard? What's the severity of the battle? Uchiha Sasuke said disdainfully. I didn't ask him to show mercy. Sasuke is right. Qingchuan Tianming slowly raised his head and said, there is no need to distinguish the severity of the battle. I was too naive. Qingchuan Tianming, who was seriously injured, was full of smiles in his tone. A gust of wind blew and messed up his bangs. He also revealed a pair of unusual pupils, which was the reward for this mission. Blood Dragon Eye. The Blood Dragon Eye comes from the blood limit of the Blood Pond clan in the Naruto world. The Blood Pond clan was once exiled by the Uchiha clan and is a very miserable race. However, although their fate is not very good, the Blood Pond clan has a pupil technique that is no less than the Sharingan. That is the Blood Dragon Eye. The same illusion superpower, but unlike the Sharingan, the Blood Dragon Eye does not have a Magatama. The strength of the pupil power is linked to the blood color of the pupil. When Uchiha Sasuke looked at Qingchuan Tianming's Blood Dragon Eye, his hair stood on end. He had a feeling. This pupil technique is not weaker than the Sharingan. Tianming. Uzumaki Karen stretched out her arm directly. Bite me to recover your body. Qingchuan Tianming did not refuse, and bit it directly. His teeth pierced the snow-white skin of Uzumaki Karen, and the sweet blood instantly repaired the hidden injuries in his body one by one. Uzumaki Karen groaned in pain, but she felt happy watching Qingchuan Tianming suck her blood. Okay. Qingchuan Tianming looked at the tooth marks on his arm and his eyes softened. I swear this is the first and last time I suck your blood. Uzumaki Karen blushed. If it's you, it's all right. Okay, I'm going to do business next. Qingchuan Tianming signaled Uzumaki Karen to step back. The pupils of the Blood Dragon eyes shrank slightly, and he also noticed the existence of the Sharingan. Ha 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 ha. Qingchuan Tianming laughed exaggeratedly, and cursed himself for being stupid in his heart. In the world of Naruto, Qingchuan Tianming believes in not changing the ending of any character and letting things take their course. But he ignored that some things and characters had already changed because of his intervention. It's not feasible to do things in a Buddhist way. In this case, then go and respect the plot, and go and don't interfere with others. From now on, whoever dares to stop me will have to pay the price. Qingchuan Tianming laughed at himself for being too saintly, and at the same time was glad that the time was not too late. So from now on, in the world of idealism and the survival of the fittest, let's speak with fists. You have exerted all your strength, right? Uchiha Sasuke said lightly, and a pair of flesh wings suddenly grew behind him. Sasuke, who has the Heaven's Curse seal, has the ability to fly. With a light movement of the flesh wings behind him, Sasuke turned into a residual image and attacked, and his speed was as fast as lightning. Ha! In the world of Blood Dragon Eyes, Uchiha Sasuke's action trajectory has been depicted. Qingchuan Tianming relaxed his toes and summoned the Sun Wheel Sword from the system backpack at the same time. Clang! The knife was unsheathed, and the knife flashed. Qingchuan Tianming held the Sun Wheel Sword and stabbed to the left. The next moment, Sasuke appeared, but his face was full of painful expressions. Because Qingchuan Tianming pierced the flesh wing with a knife. Boom! Qingchuan Tianming exerted a little force, and the Sun Wheel Sword directly pinned Sasuke on the cliff. Sasuke, let me let you feel what a real monster is. Like the whisper of a devil, when the voice fell, the Thunder Release Mountain Thunder Seal had already hit Sasuke's body. Ah! The domineering power of lightning bombarded Sasuke's body, and the Sun Wheel Sword returned to Qingchuan Tianming's hand. Uchiha Sasuke's body fell down, but Qingchuan Tianming in the sky changed his hand seal again. Thunder released Chidori Tax gun. A lightning force shot straight out and pierced through Uchiha Sasuke's body. When he fell to the ground, he had fallen into a coma. Uzumaki Karen on the side was about to send Sasuke to the west with a kunai. In her eyes, the only seed of Uchiha did not exist. Slow. Don't kill Sasuke. Qingchuan Tianming fell to the ground and blocked the kunai. She was really angry, and she really beat Sasuke violently, but there was no need to kill him. Qingchuan Tianming directly used the Sun Wheel Sword and the Mountain Thunder Seal and gave Sasuke the Chidori Sharp Spear as a welfare. It was a relief and a favor, killing two birds with one stone. Qingchuan Tianming personally picked up Sasuke and went to the other side of the lake to put him in a secret place. Then he disappeared in the Valley of the End. And just as Qingchuan Tianming left, a figure appeared beside the unconscious Sasuke. That guy, is he so strong? The trend of the front battlefield also became unusual. Nara Shikamaru and Uzumaki Naruto walked through the dense forest unimpeded, and then found Rock Lee who was unconscious on the ground. There are three unexpected people. Xiao Li. Uzumaki Naruto rushed over immediately, and then angrily. They are going to fight Gaara alone. Naruto, they are not enemies. Nara Shikamaru said softly. There were traces of fighting and a lot of sand around, but it was enough to see that the sand village was here to support. We were on a mission nearby and came here when we heard the sound of fighting. He was caught in a crisis by a man with bone spurs all over his body and a man playing the flute. We took action, but we didn't keep him. Tamari explained beside him. At this time, everyone looked behind them at the same time, where Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Karen were walking slowly. Seeing Qingchuan Tianming, Nara Shikamaru also went up to him and said, Tianming, how is the situation on your side? Killed a person and fought with Sasuke, but didn't keep him. The two of them were in a mess, and the two of them were in a mess. Tianming. Gaara reached out and greeted Qingchuan Tianming. Since the last battle, Gaara has not only reformed himself, but also become a little fan of Qingchuan Tianming. Gaara, why are you here? Although he knew the reason, Qingchuan Tianming still asked. I was on a mission nearby and came to help. Qingchuan Tianming nodded, then looked at the unconscious Xiao Li and the surrounding scenes. He analyzed it instantly. Kimimaro was not dead. Everyone, don't be stunned, hurry up and chase Sasuke. Uzumaki Naruto said hurriedly. Naruto. Nara Shikamaru shook his head and said, since Qingchuan Tianming couldn't stop him, it seems that there are people over there to help. We can't deal with it if we go there rashly, and Sasuke has left the border of the Land of Fire. He is now a traitor. Uzumaki looked up helplessly and furious. No matter how unwilling he was, there was nothing he could do. Naruto, Sasuke's life will not be in danger. Qingchuan Tianming said lightly, do your best and leave it to fate. Uzumaki Naruto was silent. He had made an agreement with Haruno Sakura before leaving. Naruto. Qingchuan Tianming patted his shoulder and said, don't put some unfounded things on yourself. You don't owe anyone. Do you understand? Got it. Okay, since the pursuit mission failed, we can only go back to report. Nara Shikamaru said, at present, Xiao Li is seriously injured, and the life and death of Dinky and Ninki is unknown. At this point, everyone can only pack up and return. After thanking the three members of the Sand Village, the pursuit team had to go home. They found the unconscious Akamichi Choji and Hyuga Neji in the dense forest. 3 days later, the pursuit team returned to Konoha and were all arranged to stay in the Konoha hospital. After a while, Tsunade appeared outside the ward accompanied by Shizune. Nara Shikamaru, Uzumaki Naruto and Aokawa Tenmei in the corridor also stood up. How are the three of them? Tsunade asked. It's my fault. I didn't analyze the strength of the enemy, nor did I formulate a combat plan, which put my companions in danger. Nara Shikamaru said apologetically. You don't have to take all the responsibility. Aokawa Tenmei has shown me the mission report. You have done a great job. Tsunade said slowly. It's just that from now on, Uchiha Sasuke officially became a rebel ninja of Konoha. This topic was a bit heavy, and even Haruno Sakura, who came following the sound, could only wipe tears in the corner. Disband right here. Tsunade ordered, and then walked into the ward. Why is Aunt Tsunade going in? Uzumaki Naruto looked at the doctors in the ward and saw Tsunade with admiration. Tsunade-sama is the best medical ninja, and you should be polite and not call her aunt. Shizune said very protectively. Uzumaki Naruto didn't say much, but just curled his lips. After receiving Tsunade's order to disband, the three uninjured people also went back to their homes. When they walked to the streets of Konoha, Qingchuan Tianming deliberately turned into a small alley and stopped. You have been following for so long, are you tired? Sakura. After the voice fell, Haruno Sakura, who looked tangled, appeared behind him and said, Qingchuan Tianming, I have a question for you. Speak. In the last battle of the pursuit mission, you fought with Sasuke, right? Why didn't you bring him back? Haruno Sakura said, tears flowing down again. Huh. Qingchuan Tianming's expression became strange and he said, so you blame me and the pursuit team for not bringing Sasuke back. Naruto. I can understand. But you are so strong, you can bring him back, why? Haruno Sakura said repeatedly. Sakura, do you think everyone in the world likes Sasuke? Qingchuan Tianming said coldly, do you know how strong the enemy you are facing this time? Little Li, Ninki, and Choji are all unconscious because of chasing Sasuke. And then you come here to ask me for an explanation. Qingchuan Tianming still thinks he is naive. How could Haruno Sakura's pig brain change just like that? Do you want to know the truth? Qingchuan Tianming raised the corner of his mouth and said with some evil taste, then I will tell you the truth. The truth is that I fought with him, beat him half to death, and threw him out of the land of fire, making him a rebel ninja. Haruno Sakura felt like a bolt from the blue. Why did you do this? Why? We are all companions of Team 7. Quote. Shut up. Qingchuan Tianming did not give her a chance to throw a tantrum and said, from all your performance, you don't have Team 7, no companions, only Sasuke in your heart. Anyone can blame me, but Haruno Sakura who did nothing is not qualified. If you want something, if you want to get something, don't cry, use your strength to get it, the same goes for companions and Sasuke. After saying that, Qingchuan Tianming left in style. He didn't care what kind of rift these words would cause to Team 7, but he still wanted to teach Haruno Sakura a lesson. As for what will happen in the future, who cares? The truth is, it's a lie. Qingchuan Tianming's righteous words made Haruno Sakura's mentality collapse. She couldn't accept it for a while and started crying in the alley. In a corner, Uzumaki Naruto was also watching this scene with great distress. He wanted to comfort Haruno Sakura. But as Qingchuan Tianming said, he, Uzumaki Naruto, didn't owe anyone and didn't need to bear anything unfounded. Whoever you love, you love. Uzumaki Naruto turned around and left. On the other side, when Qingchuan Tianming returned to Qingchuan's house, he found Uzumaki Karen standing in the corridor in a daze, looking at the fresh tooth marks on her arm and grinning. Suddenly, Uzumaki Karen turned around and said in surprise, Tianming, you're back. Qingchuan Tianming had a subtle feeling that he had been with Uzumaki Karen for a long time and felt pretty good. When I watched anime before, I thought Karen was cute in contrast, but now I have a more intuitive feeling after getting along with her. He has been lonely in the Naruto world for 12 years. Now there are people waiting for him and cooking for him when he goes home. Isn't this life sweet? Are they okay? They are still in a coma, but Tsunade-sama has stepped in, so there is no problem. Qingchuan Tianming looked at the extra pair of shoes at the entrance and asked in his slippers, is anyone coming? Tianming, it's me. Hyuga Hinata walked out of the room with a spatula. What are you doing? Qingchuan Tianming seemed to think of what he said, Hinata can come over to play at any time. I'm learning to cook from Karen. Hinata Hyuga stuck out her tongue and said, last time I sent you food, I came back and ate what I cooked, and I couldn't eat it, so I have to work hard to let Tianming eat delicious food. That's it. Qingchuan Tianming remembered the day when he comforted Uzumaki Naruto to give up Haruno Sakura. Just as he was talking about it, Hinata Hyuga and Karen Uzumaki sent food. Qingchuan Tianming couldn't refuse the kindness of the two girls, but when he opened Hinata Hyuga's box again, a flash of lightning flashed in his mind. Sure enough, this dish that looked harmless but was actually dark was the most difficult one for Qingchuan Tianming. Knock knock. At this time, there was a knock on the door. I'll open it. Uzumaki Karen came to the door and opened it. Tianming, let's go to Ichiraku. Uzumaki Naruto stood at the door and was shocked by the scene in front of him before he finished speaking. What's going on? Why are there women in the Qingchuan family? Two. Suddenly, Uzumaki Naruto felt sad. He understood that he was not worthy. If you come to Qingchuan Tianming when you are in a bad mood, you are asking for trouble. My prince chased Haruno Sakura and was injured to pieces. You, Qingchuan Tianming, sent lunch boxes and now have two beauties in your golden house. I understand. Naruto. Qingchuan Tianming stopped the boy who wanted to leave. God knew that Uzumaki Naruto would be so ruthless. The timing of his coming was too good. I will cook tonight. Stay for dinner. Is it okay? Uzumaki Naruto said tentatively. Okay, he admitted that he wanted to talk to someone. Since becoming a ninja, Uzumaki Naruto has used the mercenary money to carry out missions, and his life has improved a lot. It is no longer a dream to have a good meal every day. But he has been eating ramen because he has no one to accompany him. It is miserable to eat instant noodles alone at home. Excuse me. Uzumaki Naruto was shocked by the cleanliness after changing shoes at the entrance and walking into Qingchuan's house. It is different with girls here. You sit down first. Qingchuan Tianming smiled and turned to go into the kitchen. Suddenly, only Uzumaki Naruto, Karen and Hinata were left in the living room. After a brief awkwardness, it was Uzumaki Naruto who broke the silence. Well, why are you here? Because I originally lived here. Uzumaki Karen continued. Uzumaki Naruto's hand holding the tea was a little unsteady. Masaka. Is it cohabitation? It's really terrifying. As expected of Qingchuan Tianming, he can easily do things that others can't do. What about Hinata? Uzumaki Naruto asked and took a sip of tea. Hinata Hyuga said with a blushing face. I originally lived here. Puff. Cough cough. Uzumaki Naruto spurted out a mouthful of tea, and tears came out. Heaven and earth. Did I destroy Konoha? You want to do this to me? My mentality collapsed. Uzumaki Naruto swore in his heart. If I come to Qingchuan Tianming alone next time, I will be a dog. The little episode in the living room passed quickly, and soon the kitchen wafted out a tempting aroma. The three people turned their eyes to the kitchen. In the kitchen, Qingchuan Tianming skillfully stir-fried and lifted the pot, and then put the mapo tofu in the pot into the plate. Hometown food, hometown taste. Although I have been eating Japanese food for 12 years, the hometown taste engraved in my bones is unforgettable. This is also the first time that Qingchuan Tianming has practiced secretly before. The effect can be imagined. The three people in the living room walked in with their mouths watering. Tianming, what did you make? It smells so good. I made the best dish in the whole ninja world. Qingchuan Tianming also generously showed the dishes. Mapo tofu, fried eggs with tomatoes, stir-fried pork with pickled cabbage, and green vegetable tofu soup with dipping sauce. Each dish seems to exude an unusual fragrance. When the food was served, the three people even abandoned the table manners. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and support our channel.